Live on tape from Tommy Westphall's snow globe, it's the Season 6 BATTY Awards. Join Rick and Mike as the stars vie for top awards like Best Show, Best Episode, and Outstanding Performance by a Non-Human. Laugh at the world premiere of Automan and Cursor's 2 hologram comedy act, and rock out to a holographic Gem Jam reunion featuring Gem and the Holograms, Roland Owens, Lena Lerner, Luna Dark, Ron Cox, Johnny Deacon and Randy James, plus the Doobie Brothers. It all happens next on the Season 6 BATTY Awards. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And here we are at the end of Season 6 for our traditional BATTY Awards. And this time we're coming to you from deep in the Tommy Westphall universe.
Yeah, I'm not so sure this is very traditional, actually, Mike. This is kind of a unique setting this time.
It is. Who knows who'll show up?
Yeah, I have a bizarre feeling. It's almost like we're being watched here. I don't usually have that impression when we're doing the podcast, and
Right.
It's got me a little on edge, I gotta say.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, we'll feel better at some point. I do have a little bit of a soapy taste in my mouth from the atmosphere. But,
okay. That's understandable. You sound good for what that's worth. So.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think that's the big thing. The listeners appreciate that. So.
But it does seem like an appropriate place because it's, our show is about TV. His imagination is filled with TV characters.
Yeah, when you put it that way, we should fit right in, I think.
I hope so. Hopefully he doesn't shake the snow globe too many times.
No, that could be some severe technical difficulties.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the BATTY Awards, this is where we kind of wrap up the season. We give awards to various actors and shows and all sorts of people and things from our past season. And it's a way to look back, and it's a way to honor the people from the era of Battle of the Network shows.
Our aim is really not to celebrate ourselves, although we like looking back at these episodes, but really to celebrate the stuff that we covered, and that's what the emphasis is with our awards.
So should we just dive into the awards?
I think we should, just for the occasion, with what we call a Central Pennsylvania tuxedo, superhero t-shirt and khaki shorts. So,
really, that's...
I actually just made that up.
Okay.
But so,
I think I heard that term in a Martin Scorsese movie once. It meant something totally different.
Oh yeah, that was bad news.
Central Pennsylvania tuxedo. It's a very cool t-shirt, by the way.
Why, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, what issue of Avengers is that? A particular issue, or
it's a composite?
It's a composite. Okay.
Yes, it's a composite of multiple superheroes, an ensemble, if you will.
Yes.
Of characters.
Mm-hmm. Of Avengers.
Yes.
I do recognize. Yeah, the classic Captain America pose in there. Yeah, you got your Hawkeye. You got the people who are in the movies, except for Black Widow.
Correct. It's like classic comic book renditions of the.
And I think that Thor is Beta Ray Bill.
Yes, it is difficult to see. Plus, I don't quite have my equilibrium yet, being in this snow globe.
Yeah.
So
maybe I'm just a trick of the light, but his hand looks like it has a white glove, which is Beta Ray Bill, but he's got the right hammer.
I'm not so sure about that. That might require some further investigation, but
okay. We
know that there's plenty of investigators and people of all stripes here in the snow globe, so maybe someone will come along and help us out.
Yeah. Now that we've been nerds, let's get into this.
This significantly less nerdy business of giving awards based on 30 and 40-year-old TV shows.
Right, yeah. And I guess for the first one, why don't we go ahead and do the ones some of our listeners voted on.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
At our fabled Facebook group, we put up this poll. And this category was the Listener Award for Best Sitcom Ensemble. And we had 4 nominees from the shows we talked about. I'm going to read these in reverse order.
Okay.
As from what they're listed on the page.
Okay.
I had the What's Happening gang. So that would be your Raj and your Rerun and your Dwayne and Dee and Shirley and Mama.
Quite a crew.
Yes. The Seaver family from Growing Pains. Mm-hmm. And, assorted hangers-on like Boner.
Correct.
The Cheers gang, the folks from the place where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, an iconic cast for sure.
And we threw in a curveball with the Doobie Brothers.
Yes, we did.
And
We were also affiliated with the What's Happening universe, but
yes. And our listeners threw us a curveball by voting the Doobie Brothers as the winner.
yes. Well, the people have spoken,
Yep. Serves
and
us right.
we can't deny that they did a great job in that episode.
Yeah, and they are a tight ensemble.
Yeah, they sure are.
Now, here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't usually are not able to actually give these awards to the people in question because we don't know them.
Right.
We're not in Hollywood.
No.
Or wherever the Doobie Brothers might be. What Doobie Brothers I mean, to me, it should be the ones that are in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one, in the current Doobie lineup, only one of them, as far as I know, who also appeared in the show.
Oh, okay.
Which is Patrick Simmons.
Patrick. Oh, yeah, it is
Yeah.
Patrick. You're sure it's Patrick Simmons?
Yeah, not Gary Sanger.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if we had a chance, like if we threw this out on Twitter, would these other Doobie Brothers accept it?
I don't know. It might be a way to find out more about this episode and how they felt about it.
Yeah.
Perhaps this could have been a launch pad to a sitcom of their own.
Right.
And, maybe this might be stirring up some old feelings. I don't know, good or bad.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, there never was an actual Doobie Brothers sitcom.
Right. Or a cartoon that we lamented that.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know what the current Doobies, which is that guy that founded the band and then left and then came back, and then another guy who was there in the late '70s and has been there since, I think. But, was not there.
Imagine being like founding members of a highly successful band, but this is kind of a stain on their record because they weren't in the What's Happening episode.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of like a nagging.
I wonder how many times they get questioned about that and they just Pat.
Yeah, it wasn't me, bro.
Yeah.
It might eat at them a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Hopefully this would be something they can all share, because without that foundation, that episode wouldn't have been as gigantic as it was.
Exactly.
Because we talked about they were like a tremendous act, very popular at the time.
Yeah, if it had been like a made-up band.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the Ron Cox Ensemble or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wouldn't have held the same weight.
There was definitely a verisimilitude with this that there's no way they would have been able to rip the lid off the bootlegging industry the way they did with the fake band.
That's right.
And, from the listener end, I kind of read this as a calling for some kind of Doobie Brothers show, that, a wish that there were more Doobie Brothers material out there.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
And, obviously we shared that, as I think was clear in our What's Happening episode. But
yeah. I would accept a Doobie Brothers sitcom, a Doobie Brothers cartoon, a Doobie Brothers crime show.
Okay.
Because we saw their tactics for taking down criminals.
Yeah, they could have been like a little internal, like a crime unit, like a major crimes unit, or just maybe a music industry crimes unit.
Exactly. Or variety show that had assistance from Sid and Marty Krofft.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
All that would sound gold to me. Well, they may not be quite as beloved as the Cheers gang in general, but among our audience, the Doobie Brothers certainly made their mark.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Yeah, what an achievement. This is an award that, we haven't mentioned our Blue Ribbon nominating commission / panel yet.
Yes, committee.
But I believe they were the ones that chose these, and they kind of threw in the curveball, but I think even they were surprised by this result. But
yeah,
I think they'll be gratified too. But to me, this is a special award because the listeners voted on it.
Yes, and thank you, listeners. And if you want to join in the fun, again, we have this Facebook group. We understand not everyone wants to be on Facebook. Frankly, maybe we don't want to be on Facebook, but we're there.
Yeah.
So.
And that's much of what I'm using Facebook for right now, is to interact with our group and do podcast stuff. So
yeah.
But yes, we don't. All we do is we ask you to just show up, maybe introduce yourself if you so desire, and participate. But we don't ask anything of you. There's no pressure.
Nope.
Just come in and hang out and talk 70s and 80s TV like we do in the show here.
Yeah. So before we get into the rest of the awards, or most of the rest of the awards, a couple ground rules. One, we have the 5-minute timer.
Yes.
Which we discuss the nominees. Sometimes we go over, but we try to rein ourselves in with the 5-minute timer.
Mm-hmm.
If we come to an impasse, we'll go to a random number generator.
Yes, which we've determined is the only scientific and fair, rational way to determine something if we have a deadlock.
That's right.
Because, as you can infer from what you were just saying, we do not determine these awards ahead of time. We are determining them right now on the show.
That's right, and we didn't determine the nominees.
No, I mean, it's our Blue Ribbon panel. came up with them. So
That's right.
I'm very curious to find out who these nominees
Yeah.
are. But
Surprise to us. And
yeah.
now, if you're interested in the accountant bit that you always see on the Oscars, you're not going to get that.
Yeah, no.
Save that for off air.
Yeah. Yeah, the people behind the scenes, they're going to stay behind the scenes. We need more time to discuss these awards and give them the due consideration, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Now, because we're in the Tommy Westphall universe, what TV accountant do you think is the main accountant in the Tommy Westphall universe?
Well, the one comes to mind is one that we talked about on the show this year, and that's Norm Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
So, one of maybe the best accountant / house painter that I know of in TV.
Right.
I'd be glad to use his services.
Yeah, he probably would begrudgingly provide his services.
Yeah, he'd get to it eventually.
Yeah. Only because he needs to.
Yeah.
Provide shelter for Vera and beer money for himself.
Right. Speaking of being in the Tommy Westphall universe, it just does this mean, are the Doobie Brothers officially in the Tommy Westphall universe if they weren't already? And does that mean, the Doobie Brothers were on Don Kirshner's rock concert, Midnight Special. You see where I'm going with this? Does this mean that pretty much all of rock and roll for the last 50 years is now in the Tommy Westphall universe?
I'm going to leave that up to someone else to determine.
All right,
maybe they're just visiting.
Okay.
Or they're appearing in hologram form. We're discussing them in there, but I don't know. Sort of like in the regular universe, we talk about things that are in the Tommy Westphall.
True.
That doesn't make them. Well, they are kind of part of our universe too, but fictionally. Yeah.
I'm confused.
I think this is too heady a discussion for.
I think I need to borrow one of Norm Peterson's beers right now because I'm starting to get a little.
Cliff could probably explain it.
I bet he could. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the first award.
Okay.
Why don't you read this one?
I'll be glad to. I believe this award looks like for Outstanding Villain. Ooh. We've gone and Outstanding Villain, Outstanding Heel, kind of the bad guy award here. And we got a good group this time, Mike. The nominees are Eddie Sands from Hardcastle and McCormick, Eric Raymond from Gem and the Holograms, Al Dunbar from What's Happening, John Hurt from Donahue, and the Riddler and Solomon Grundy from the Legends of the Superheroes specials that we talked about.
This is a diabolical group of nominees.
It really is, and they all have different ways of going about things and different goals.
One thing they have in common?
What's that?
None of them succeeded.
That's true. So outstanding is kind of a relative term, I guess, isn't it?
Which is pretty typical for most TV villains.
It is. There aren't too many that really succeeded, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Or at least not for long.
You're right.
So what do you think here, Mike? Who stands out to you? Or who doesn't?
Well, I think we were both disappointed with Eric Raymond's performance in the particular episodes that we watched. We like the idea of Eric Raymond more than his performance in that episode.
He was a little underutilized, yeah.
Yeah. He is a classic cartoon villain, which is he seems on top of things, and yet he surrounds himself with idiots.
Yeah.
To an extent. Or there's a lot of self-sabotage going on there, I think.
I think that's a fair assessment, yes.
But, he's no Cobra Commander.
Certainly not.
Because he actually has a goal.
Yeah, that's one
make
thing
money.
That distinguishes him, yes. He's got a clearly defined aim, actually.
Yeah,
yes.
And stick it to orphans.
Yeah.
The rest of these are pretty good. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, one thing I want to, John Hurt, not the actor, of course, but the leader of the cleanup television campaign. Mm-hmm. I actually had some sympathy for him. We put him in this category because he's kind of against a lot of the TV that we love and don't love, but, it's TV.
Yeah.
So anybody that attacks TVs kind of goes in the villain category.
And frankly, Gary Deeb was against some of the TV that we love.
I don't really acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But because I'm a big Gary Deeb fan.
I know.
As you know. But so, I kind of see a little sympathy for John Hurt. I think, if anything, John Hurt was a little bit, I suspect maybe a little disingenuous. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I would call him a true villain.
Yeah.
Eddie Sands from Hardcastle and McCormick, given the right circumstances, he could have been a better villain, but I had to really look up his name. I didn't remember it, to be honest. So, granted, that was early in the season, but I think that's a strike against him.
Yeah. He did have something in common with both Eric Raymond and Al Dunbar.
What's that?
Which being using the entertainment industry for nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
So I guess we could say of those three, I would eliminate him before I eliminated Al Dunbar.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Al Dunbar could have ruined the lives of someone in his early 20s.
Yeah, Al Dunbar, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to say a teenager, but it was a
Right.
rerun, so I don't know his approximate
True,
age.
and Al Dunbar really, as we all know, the most heinous crime of all is bootlegging concerts
Yeah,
that could otherwise have been maybe made a double album at some point.
right.
So, costing the music industry thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I think that goes much beyond like, world domination or drug smuggling, or,
Yeah.
messing around with orphans. So,
Or making illegal money through through the actual legitimate music industry.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Now, what if the three of those teamed up together?
well, you'd have movies covered,
Yep.
music covered, recorded music and live music.
Uh-huh.
Be pretty formidable, wouldn't it?
I could see, like, maybe Eddie Sands secretly funding, or not Eddie Sands, Eric Raymond funding Al Dunbar, like backing his bootlegging project,
Ah, interesting.
but only targeting the Starlight Records people.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be quite a focus, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, although, in fairness, Al Dunbar seemed to be following around the Doobie Brothers.
Right, yeah.
So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that he would just follow around Gem and the Holograms.
Exactly, yeah. Or, or maybe even any of those people associated with the Gem Jam.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I guess anybody who wasn't on whatever Misfit Records or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Um,
I could easily see that happening. However, we might be, it's an excellent idea, Mike, but we might be giving him a little too much credit because we don't have any evidence that he really thought that big or that he achieved anything like that. So
right.
I don't want to give him too much credit for something he didn't do as far as voting for this category.
Yeah, he didn't seem to be much of a long-term planner.
Yeah.
He was more reactive.
Yeah, no, he was ultimately a disappointment. Maybe we should talk a little bit here about the Riddler and Solomon Grundy because they are supervillains, and we spent a lot of time talking about
hypotheticals,
a bootlegging king and a B movie producer.
Right.
Yeah, Riddler and Solomon Grundy. I mean, Riddler was very entertaining, and he was the secretary of the supervillains.
Yes.
So that gives him. But Solomon Grundy, for me, he took down Ed McMahon.
Oh yeah.
And I put a lot of weight behind that. I mean, even Johnny Carson couldn't really. He chipped away at Ed McMahon, but Ed McMahon always kept getting back up. Whereas
that's a good point.
When Ed McMahon was brought to his knees, literally by Solomon Grundy, I think it almost took. He kind of needed a lift to get back on his feet, or at least a few minutes to collect himself. So
plus, think about this. They say that the one reason like that drunk drivers don't get as injured in accidents is because the alcohol is loosened their.
Yeah, yeah.
That they don't stiffen up when the accident happens.
Right.
I think it would take a lot more strength to take down Ed McMahon.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, that just shows you how powerful Solomon Grundy is.
Yeah.
And
he beat up a lot of superheroes in that.
He did, and he was doing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as trying to outwit them and like pursuing them, and he took down, he captured Hawkman and was it Black Canary? And, so
he totally ignored Marsha Warfield's sass.
Yeah, which man, more power to him.
Yeah,
tough for me to do that.
And I imagine he still managed to pump some gas for some people.
Yeah. He showed himself as a master of disguise.
Yeah.
And as we also know, he was also in the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I can't help but give him credit for that achievement.
Yes, as a female Wookiee.
So I give him the edge over the Riddler for those things.
I think so.
And I guess the question is that enough to overcome
Al Dunbar?
Al Dunbar. Because a bootlegger, man, I mean, I still get chills when I think of somebody, costing innocent bands money by bootlegging. By making bootleg cassette tapes. I mean, man, what a villain that is. But, Al Dunbar, as entertaining as he was, I don't know.
We did question his plan.
Yeah, there were some flaws in his strategy.
It seemed like a hard road to make a lot of money, exclusively bootlegging Doobie Brothers concerts.
Yeah, ultimately it's nickel and diming compared to...
I mean, he wasn't paying a lot for it.
No, he kept his margins pretty low.
Clearly didn't spend a lot on the tape recorder.
Right.
And he always... I assume got that back.
Yeah.
He only paid. He did have to get tickets.
Yeah.
But he probably had it connect.
Do you think he was using? Yeah, he probably did. Do you think he was using at least high-end audio cassettes, like maybe at least like a Maxell? Or do you think he was using like generic audio cassettes?
I think he was using like those ones that were like black with the white label with orange on them.
Yeah.
That you got, that like the drugstore.
Yeah.
That just came in like, I don't.
Like strips.
Yes, they didn't even have cases.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
They were just tapes.
And probably using 60-minute ones and flipping them over, and so a concert would come in like a
4 of those.
Yeah. I'm starting to get a little disillusioned with Al the more we talk about it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think Solomon Grundy was born on Monday and won a Batty on Sunday.
Yeah.
Wait, no, today's Monday. He won a Batty on Monday. Oh, okay.
It's easy to lose track of time in this snow globe, I'll tell you that.
He was born on Monday and died on, what's his deal?
Died on a Tuesday.
Died on a Tuesday. Okay.
And then watched Love Boat on a Saturday. I don't know, something like that.
He was a big Love Boat fan.
Yeah. With all this snow around here, I don't even know what season it is, let alone what day it is. So I can't,
And yet it's not that cold.
I can't keep it straight.
It's interesting.
It's rather temperate, but I feel good about Solomon Grundy. He was quite a villain. He was one of the highlights of that show too. So
yeah, I agree.
I think we should go with that.
Congratulations, Solomon Grundy. You don't always get a win.
No, but you won here, and please don't try to crush our wrists or something like that.
Yeah. All right. The next category is one of our favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding Youth. And our nominees are Ernest Thomas, Raj from What's Happening, Jerry Miller from Growing Pains, Danny Cooksey also from Growing Pains,
mm-hmm.
and Dominic from Gem. Dominic Lerner, I guess.
Yeah, his background was a little unclear.
Yes, so Jeremy Miller was Ben, Danny Cooksey was also Ben.
Well, it's as always, it's a good group. It shows you what great young talent there was in the 70s and 80s. But in this case, Mike, I think there's some upsets here because some people we may have not talked fondly of in the past show up here nominated for baddies, right? Jeremy Miller and Danny Cooksey.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Jeremy Miller.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
I mean, Danny Cooksey is surprising, but not that surprising. I mean, we were so taken with his performance in his Growing Pains that I'm less surprised. It was surprising that happened, but then once it happened, he seemed like a shoo-in.
Yeah, it did, and I think one thing that was interesting about this season is there may have been some ambiguity in the use. We didn't have as many child actors.
Right.
Even Ernest Thomas being in there, I mean, he's so good that you have to consider him, but yeah, he's kind of on that precipice of manhood in this show. I don't know if you really... I'm not questioning the Blue Ribbon panel here, but he's not quite as youthful as, say, Jeremy Miller or Danny Cooksey, or Dominic even.
This is true.
In the past, we've had more teen-oriented shows.
Yeah.
And so it opened the door for maybe some unconventional choices, like a Jeremy Miller.
Yes.
But he did carry that episode.
He did.
As good as Danny Cooksey was, Jeremy Miller's indignation at being sort of replaced helped solve the episode, I think. And it made Danny Cooksey's performance better, one might say. I'm not saying that, but one might say that.
Yeah. And he did that excellent blue screen work.
That's right. He did. He did.
The subtle blue screen work.
It was, yes. It was probably one of the most outstanding Jeremy Miller episodes that we've seen. I think it's fair to say that.
I would think that's fair to say, yeah.
Yes.
We can definitely eliminate Dominic.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in Dominic. He didn't do much with that. That could have been a juicier thing to play with. It was a 2-part episode, but ultimately didn't really deliver for me.
Yeah, he was just kind of
a
little bit of a jerk.
Sort of a knockoff of some other characters or people, but it didn't quite go there enough with it. I would rule him out too.
These other three, I don't know. You made a persuasive argument in favor of Jeremy Miller.
Yes, but ultimately, I think a lot of that argument is based on Danny Cooksey, who really stood out at the time.
Yeah.
I love Ernest Thomas on What's Happening, the series. In that episode, though, maybe he didn't stand out as much as you would like to.
It wasn't really focused on him.
No, I mean
his rerun and the Doobie Brothers.
It did take advantage of his role in the school newspaper, which didn't always come to the forefront in the episodes. And you saw him dancing a little bit and getting down, which I liked. But I think still the one that stands out to me is the one who we really praised at the time of the episode.
Yeah, Danny Cooksey. I mean, and part of it's for him overcoming such big odds.
Yeah.
The odds of being so disliked on different strokes.
Yes. Yeah, he was a real revelation, I dare say.
Yeah.
We were thoroughly entertained by his performance.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that it rehabilitates his entire career.
No.
But it gives it another shade of something else, a quality that we didn't expect.
Did it make you want to revisit his country music singing career?
No.
Okay.
Nor his later rock singing career.
Okay. Oh, well, that's too bad.
But if there's some, TV movie from that era with like a gaggle of actors from various shows on a particular network, a bunch of kids and a few adults.
Yeah.
Maybe Richard Mulligan somehow.
Oh, I like this.
Or Richard Mole. I'd give that a shot.
Do Richard Mulligan and Richard Mole ever appear in anything together?
Probably.
Can you imagine the two of them riffing on that? Or, you know what they should have done? They should have presented it at an Emmy Awards and just done a bit on, how they always get confused for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Richard Mole saying, just kind of doing like putting his hand in his head. And
Someone should have really done a combination. Richard Mulligan, an impression that somehow captured the best of both of them.
Yeah, you could wear a skull cap.
Yeah.
But get like the super big eyebrows like Richard Mulligan. Yeah.
So we're Danny Cooksey?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to say is Danny Cooksey
Wow.
is the outstanding youth. What a renaissance for him, and I feel good about that.
I do too.
Excellent. Well deserved. Congratulations,
Yes.
Mr. Cooksey.
Okay. I'll let you read the nominees for the next category. Another favorite.
Yes, this is the outstanding non-human category. And as we've seen before, this can cover a lot of ground.
Yes. Nominees before have included a board.
Yeah. Yes. An actual, we're talking about a piece of wood.
Yes.
Essentially, yes. BOARD.
And, aliens and all sorts of things.
Yeah, the aliens tend to be some of the more conventional choices, actually.
Yes.
But animals can go in here, too. Well, let's see what we got here.
Okay.
All right, outstanding non-human. We have cocaine.
Cocaine?
From Growing Pain. Yes, cocaine. We have Cursor from Automan.
Ooh.
Automan from Automan. The car from Hardcastle and McCormick, which was the Coyote, I believe was the name of it.
Yes.
And the tape recorder from What's Happening. Wow. Well, go ahead here, Mike. I don't know where to begin with these.
I don't either.
Such a broad array of candidates.
Yeah. During a Hardcastle McCormick, I definitely tried to make the argument that the car was not as important as it seems to be in people's memory.
Yeah. You were very persuasive in that.
It's a cool looking car, but it's not a car show. It's a show about two guys.
Yeah.
Happen to have this cool looking car that they sometimes use for parts of what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not Knight Rider.
No.
The car doesn't talk.
No.
So I would eliminate the Coyote.
Fair enough. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Rest of these, I don't know. Like on the one hand, there's no Automan without Cursor.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we compared Cursor to Orko from He-Man, which is not a flattering comparison.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a 1990s performance of Cursor that lets us revisit him the way we did Danny Cooksey. But if there is, I have yet to find it, and it doesn't help him here. So, yeah. Cursor, and plus, giving an award to Cursor might be problematic in this day and age, considering Cursor's hijinks and shenanigans in that episode.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed by him.
Yeah. Automan, well, in terms of personality, he always maintained a slightly non-human element to his personality that made him amusing. On the other hand, he spent a lot of time looking like a normal human and not really doing anything action-wise that was out of the sphere of human ability.
That's an excellent point. He was mostly concerned with playing guitar, rocking out, and wooing Laura Branigan's character.
Yeah.
Not really taking advantage of his non-humanness.
Right.
That's a good point, Mike. I think you're onto something there.
And now, like many a classic non-human character, he does seem to have a desire to be human.
Yeah.
In the mold of your Spocks and your Datas and Pinocchios. Right.
Definitely, at least to understand the human condition.
Yeah.
Which is a noble pursuit, but not necessarily as great television when you just want to sit down and see a guy turn into stuff and fight bad guys.
Right. Yeah. The fact that he doesn't actually turn into stuff too was, of course, a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would eliminate Automan too.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well.
Which leaves us with cocaine and the tape recorder. Yeah, cocaine and the tape recorder from What's Happening.
Ooh, well, we certainly don't endorse drug use of any kind.
No, or bootlegging.
Drug use. No, we don't. Yeah. Those are equally devastating crimes.
Yeah, both of these were forms of temptation.
They were indeed, yes.
Yeah.
they were gateways into a really world of criminal enterprise and wrongdoing, and
disguised as gateways into something else.
yeah,
Cocaine is disguised as a gateway into being cool and maybe getting to make time with a girl.
yeah, acceptance, popularity,
Yeah.
and carnal pleasures.
Yes. The tape recorder was a gateway into getting to see the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And getting paid for seeing the Doobie Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Forget that. Everyone did get paid $4 to see the Doobie Brothers.
That's right, which is enough to buy
popcorn,
a Big Mac and fries, I think.
He had that before.
Oh, that's right, yes.
But he had popcorn and soda and
yeah,
some other snack.
Well, quite a thing. Go see a concert for free and have your concessions covered.
Yeah. Of course, there was a lot of risk there.
Yeah. But
I mean, there's a lot of risk, of course, with cocaine.
Yeah, of course. One thing I will point out, though, is we didn't actually see the cocaine.
That's true.
It's hard to evaluate the performance. Now, the tape recorder took quite a risk by being strapped to rerun for much of the time.
Yeah.
And it actually took much as we talked about Ed McMahon taking bumps in his episodes, the tape recorder took a bump when it fell out of the code.
That's true.
And hit the floor.
Yeah.
So that's probably something in its favor.
Right. It was made in the 70s, so it probably still stood up.
Yeah, I think it was probably made to last a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, that tape recorder happened to be used in nefarious purposes, but a tape recorder in itself is not a nefarious thing.
No.
Whereas cocaine is pretty much... I mean, cocaine, I'm not ascribing motivation to cocaine itself.
No.
But it's not really thought of positive, except for by people who use it.
Yes, on another podcast, we could start a whole discussion on 1980s drug policy, but this isn't that podcast.
No.
I will say one thing is we're talking about the outstanding kind of overall performance, not necessarily the outstanding villain category.
That's true.
Per se. So I would just take that into mind. To me, I'm putting a lot of stock in the fact that we don't actually see the cocaine, and we're kind of judging it based on how other characters react to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the tape recorder, it's more of a tangible thing, and to me, it stands out a little bit more, I think, because of that.
Yeah, I think you're making a persuasive argument. Like, we didn't get to see, Jack Nicholson snorting a bowl of cocaine.
Yeah. And I think along the lines of what you were going was that the tape recorder is not inherently bad.
Yeah.
Whereas the cocaine would be. So if we're talking about rewarding something with an award, if we're concerned about that, then the tape recorder doesn't necessarily deserve punishment for being used poorly by Al Dunbar.
Yes. I think the only thing we could... cocaine might get another shot.
I think you think so? You think cocaine will make a return?
We are discussing 70s and 80s TV. So
yeah, I think you're right. Whereas tape recorders, this could be the chance to really reward a long forgotten.
Frankly, a good piece of technology.
Yeah.
It gets short shrift now.
Yeah.
I guess some hipsters are into it again, cassettes again, but
okay. Yeah.
Not in the same way as vinyl.
No.
And
not yet, anyway.
It's not as warm as vinyl.
Yeah.
But I think we've talked about that on the show. That was our medium.
Yes.
Our music medium. We talked about it with the Gem. That was.
It was a way to preserve music and make the mixtape.
Yeah.
That whole phenomenon. And in this episode, the tape recorder was certainly important.
Yeah. And the cassette in it.
Yeah. That's right.
However cheap it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. I let's give it to the tape recorder.
Okay. I'm definitely on board with that.
Sorry, cocaine.
Yeah. You didn't get your...
And you know what? We didn't mention, but cocaine did appear in 2 episodes. It was in the Hardcastle McCormick episode.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Causing trouble in that one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to biggest exasperation.
Yeah, this is always one of our favorite categories, I think.
Yeah. So our nominees are Fraser Crane from Cheers, Matty Hayes from Moonlighting, Jason Seaver from Growing Pains, Mr. Carlin from St. Elsewhere, and Phil Donahue.
Wow. Oh.
Boy.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the toughest category yet already.
This might be.
We've got a tough one here.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say and this is kind of where we get into sometimes we get into the discussion of, we try to focus on the specific episode we covered, but you can't help but also cover a body of work. So to me, Fraser Crane, I can't help but think about that whole character and how he built, 20 years on TV out of exasperation.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Same with Phil Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
Phil was actually relatively restrained in the episode we did.
Yes.
But a little bit was lurking there and came out a little bit, but I mean, Phil's exasperation was as much as he tried to hide it and be non-judgmental, he couldn't help but be exasperated a lot of times. And that's one of the reasons we love him so much.
Right. And he did, chastise a couple of his the audience members for
True.
veering off topic.
We had Mr. Carlin St. Elsewhere, of course, interacting with fellow patient John Doe.
Yeah.
Was just totally fed up with his those antics and his memory loss.
And obsessing over the TV news.
Yes. It was kind of a different kind of like a more curmudgeonly exasperation.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was very effective. Maddie Hayes, of course, interacting with David. Pretty much every time she interacts with David, she's exasperated.
Yeah.
And that's very entertaining. And kind of going back to that yin and yang kind of thing, would David Addison be as entertaining without Maddie Hayes to play off of?
No, you got to have a straight man.
Yeah.
Or a straight woman in this case.
And Jason Seaver, boy, he was so exasperated at the presence of a illicit drug in his kids' lives. We've already made several references to it in this episode. I mean, that was one for the ages, his reaction there. So, Jason Seaver would not be so much of a career thing, but this particular episode was very strong and memorable. However, some of the other ones maybe stand out a little bit more. Well, I think I might rule out Phil Donahue just because he wasn't quite as exasperated in this episode. So that's one I would rule out, but boy, that's the only one that I would necessarily rule out right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it seems tough to vote against Fraser Crane in an exasperation category, doesn't it? But
I'm trying to remember how exasperated he got in that episode.
Well, I think the main thing we're talking about the heart is a lonely snipe hunter, correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, he wound up in a different position than we thought he was.
Yes.
So he turned sort of like exasperation into sort of using his intelligence and his smarts. So in that particular episode, I just don't know if he was as exasperated as he was. He didn't have. I don't remember necessarily the classic Fraser Crane.
Right.
Oh, come on. That kind of thing. So it makes it easier to consider other people, I will say.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling him out just yet.
Yeah, but again, he might get another chance.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Maddie Hayes was definitely exasperated in that episode.
She was.
I mean, Limbo Party alone.
Yeah, and we talked about kind of the thankless role that she had, being straight man.
Yeah.
And she did it pretty well without really going too far over the top.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been kind of funny if she was really over the top, like
right.
If she was like, Phil Ford on Sergeant Bilko or something like that every time David Addison said something.
David!
Yeah.
Did they? They never actually had steam come out of her ears, did they?
Not that I remember. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I don't remember seeing that. No.
Okay.
Much as I liked Mr. Carlin and Jack Riley, veteran character actor, that was a great performance.
Yeah.
Not sure if it was strong enough to win this category. To me, it comes down to Fraser, Maddie, and Jason.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised by how much credit I'm giving Maddie.
Uh-huh.
But boy, that Jason Seaver though, it was like the capstone of a whole episode.
And it was, a different type of exasperation.
It was.
It was concerned.
Despair, almost.
Despair, yes. It was, there were layers.
Yeah. Let's not forget the repeated utterance of the line.
Yeah.
But the physical action of going back and making sure that the door is locked at the end of that episode.
Right.
I think that's kind of part of it. Just
to
like,
keep the cocaine at bay.
Yeah. What can you do anymore? Yeah. I'm leaning a little bit that way now.
Well, I can see that. And again, I don't think we saw the classic Fraser exasperation. In fact, he got the better of everyone.
Right. And they were stringing him along so much. He was playing the boob, so to speak, so long that in a situation where we might expect to see that exasperation, instead he held his exasperation in check so that he might turn the tables on them later.
Even his exasperation with Diane.
Yeah, that's true.
Who was exasperating.
That's right.
Because that's what she does.
Really, she was more exasperated than he was.
Yeah.
I'm not, telling the Blue Ribbon panel how to do its job, but she might have been a good candidate for this category too.
Yeah.
Well, she's not here though.
Frankly, Sam Malone might have been too.
Yeah, that's right.
He was pretty exasperated in that one episode.
In the other episode, the power play episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Diane Chambers, and I think if we had biggest exasperator, is that a word?
Well, it is now, I think.
Greatest causer of exasperation. Diane and David would have been the two top nominees.
Yes, the biggest inducements to exasperation around. Yes.
Right.
Well, that may be a category for next year's baddies. Next season's baddies, huh?
Most annoying
Yeah. I think as far as like pure, uncut exasperation, I would give it to Jason Seaver.
Yeah.
There's some other factors that help Maddie and Fraser to a less extent, but are we bold enough to narrow it down to Maddie and Jason?
I think Fraser's exasperation was stepped on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, I would narrow it down to those two. Maddie and Jason.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Jason Seaver's exasperation is, the first time I watched it, I just kind of I thought, oh, it was something new to try, and it was entertaining. But then, I found myself going back again over and over again and enjoying that exasperation, almost like I couldn't get out of my system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think both these characters and performances I have a feeling they may come up later again, too.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with Jason Seaver's exasperation.
All right, you're sure this is? I want this to be your decision. I don't want you to think I'm unduly influencing you to go with Jason Seaver's exasperation.
Well, you're
a responsible adult. You can make your own decisions. I realize, but
hey,
yes.
You might think it's uncool to vote for the same thing as your podcasting partner, but sometimes that's the way to go because we have more categories to get to.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid anyway.
Right. So if you think that,
yeah,
you're wrong.
Yeah.
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 That says it all.
Jason Seaver.
Okay.
We can award him even if we didn't award the cocaine.
Yeah, that's right. At least we'll give it a nod there somewhere. Well done, Alan Thicke, too.
Yes.
All right.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Uh-oh. I feel a little bit of a crisis coming on. Okay, whose turn is it to read?
It's yours.
It's mine? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Folks, we've got one of the most popular categories, outstanding facial hair. And what an assortment we have this time. The nominees are, returning as an ensemble, the Doobie Brothers.
Yes.
Wow. It seems a bit of an advantage for them.
Yeah. We did discuss that a little bit on the episode. Did seem like it would be hard to just pick one Doobie Brother to fit in there.
Well, we're going to have to grapple with that in a minute, but going up against them are Cliff Clavin from Cheers, Dr. Craig from St. Elsewhere, and Willie Stargell, who was the de facto host and interviewer of The Greatest Sports Legends with Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And that's I want to say it, but really, even though there's 4 nominees, that covers about, 10 or 11 people at least. So
right.
I think we got enough to consider.
Just the Doobie Brothers is 10 or 11 people, I think.
Now, Mike, while you're pondering some of these, I've got to say something. I kind of feel this is a bit of a tough situation. I think we're going to need some assistance here. So while you're thinking about this, I'm going to get something that was brought I don't want to know if she wants her name revealed, but I will say that she was generous enough to carry this to us all the way from the great Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to pull this out now to help us in our assistance. So
friend of the friend. Friend of a friend of the show.
Well, one of our loyal listeners, actually.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Yes, she is a great fan of the show. So
look forward to seeing what this is.
Yes, folks, we have an emergency mustache kit. And I think this is an emergency. I think this warrants it, don't you know?
Yes.
This has 6 mustache styles.
Wow.
And on the front, I believe we'll get a picture of this later for our show notes, folks.
Yeah.
But we've got what looks an awful lot like Tom Selleck on the front.
It doesn't look an awful.
Tom Selleck with a mustache, holding a mustache.
Right.
And the styles included in this box are the traditional gent, the cowboy, the rusty brush, the Italian plumber, the oil baron, and the abracadabra. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a mustache out right now and put it on so that I can kind of inhabit the world of facial hair. Now, you already have facial hair.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put it. Didn't shave today, but.
Yeah, I'd be worried about sticking a mustache on my mustache.
Yes.
I mean, I have a full beard, but.
So I believe I've gotten the. Is this the traditional? I think.
Looks like.
I don't have the box now, but.
Yeah. So there's the traditional gent. So the ends would be curled up on that. The cowboy.
Oh, this might be the cowboy. Actually.
Yeah, that looks like the cowboy.
Well.
The rusty brush, the Italian plumber, the oil baron.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Man, all right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, it's weird because the Tom Selleck mustache is not... Oh, I guess that's the Italian plumber. That's the only one that looks like it.
Yeah, which is interesting. That wouldn't be the Italian plumber you would think of, Thomas Magnum.
No.
But so be it.
Huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really able to understand this category a lot more now that I'm wearing this mustache.
Yeah. I think if I didn't have facial hair, I'm not sure which one. Maybe the oil baron is pretty cool.
There's several things I like about
the
packaging.
Yeah.
It's very convenient how everything's shown, but I believe it has a note about a disclaimer about using it with adult supervision,
Oh,
and also to retain the packaging for future use,
yes.
which I like because
Stash your tash for emergency situations.
yes,
No, I would never call a mustache a tash, but
no, but
hey,
maybe an emergency you might have to shorten a few letters because you have to put your mustache on quick and you don't have time
yeah.
to really say it. But
Also, sealed for extra freshness.
yeah, well, this feels very fresh. I can tell you right
Oh,
now.
good.
This mustache feels like kind of when you get nice laundry out of the dryer,
Yeah,
and it has that great smell to it and feels good.
yeah. Uh, Made in China.
Uh-oh.
How does the has the novelty community spoken up against trade tariffs?
I don't know. It must be crippling them, but
Yeah,
fortunately, these mustaches we're able to get through.
right.
Hmm.
Well, they are emergency mustaches.
I think I may have accidentally swallowed some mustache dust. Actually, I'm gonna have to.
And
Wow.
yeah, please for adult use only.
Yes.
Oh, and then there's stuff in other languages too.
Well, it's a good thing we have the box because
Yeah.
you'd hate to be caught in a situation and not know which mustache to use, and this box
Right.
is a handy guide.
Yeah, and the other thing it says is contains 6 mustaches to instantly become a man.
Mm.
Maybe I do need this.
Well, I do feel a little more virile after
Yeah.
putting this on, I'll
Right.
say.
Mustache is dripping.
Yeah, it's not sticking very well, I'll say that. I'm having troubles with fixing it.
Right.
I think in my struggle to do so, I did inhale some of the mustache.
Oh god.
I might need you to talk for a minute about these nominees while I try to get this mustache and really get into my method stashing.
Okay.
Oh,
Again, so the Doobie Brothers, a variety of facial hair within that ensemble.
a little something for everybody.
You had just a mustache.
Mhm.
I think Patrick Simmons is sporting a mustache in this era of the Doobie Brothers. And of course, Skunk Baxter with his incredible mustache.
Yeah.
That's sort of a goatee thing, the bass player. Of course, Michael McDonald's incredible beard.
Mhm.
And those various drummer people and stuff, they had stuff going on.
They did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the
And
rhythm section had the mustaches too.
As far as I know, everybody in the band had facial hair, though.
I think even their management team had facial hair.
Yeah, that exasperated manager.
Yeah.
Boy, it's hard to compete with that.
It really is. There's such a wide array. And yes, our category is celebrating all facial hair.
Yeah.
We're spent a lot of time talking about mustaches,
Right.
deservedly so, but
It could be a goatee. It could be a mutton chops. Now, Cliff Clavin, of course, we know he's got a nice. I would call his mustache a traditional mustache,
I think so, yeah.
but full and well groomed.
Yeah.
And part of definitely the identity of that character.
Yeah,
I think.
for sure.
You know, it's all
Essential.
when you see Ratzenberger without a mustache, it's a little disconcerting.
It is.
Same way when you see Tom Selleck without one.
Yeah.
And Dr. Craig, played by William Daniels, he had a very manicured mustache, of course, very precise.
Befitting the character.
Yeah, I'm sure that character spent a good portion of his morning just grooming his mustache.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he would frown upon my unkempt facial hair, the hippie facial hair.
He has very exacting standards.
Yes. And Willie Stargell, I don't. He had a pretty big mustache, right? I don't really remember.
He did, but yeah, Willie Stargell's didn't really exploit his mustache the way he could have in that episode.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was a good, solid mustache, and I mean, gee, that mustache helped the Pirates to a couple of world championships. But
Well, there's that. It also, no, I'm not going to say.
You're referencing another.
Aspect of.
The mustache could have hit a lot of things, actually.
Yes, right.
Couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe for all we know, the mustache might have been a barrier against those things and trying to prevent some of that activity.
That's true.
The mustache could have been like the unsung hero in that whole
Right.
Pittsburgh scandals of the early 80s.
Yes. Or a good, storage device.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I could store anything in this particular mustache because it's
It's not staying on.
yeah, it may be
I wonder if you were supposed to. It didn't seem to
Uh,
have instructions, but you were supposed to use rubbing alcohol on the area before you did that.
that's quite possible.
The way like with suction cups,
Yeah.
you're supposed to clean the windshield or whatever.
Yes. I also wonder about the humidity here in the snow globe.
Well, yeah,
That may be having an effect too.
yeah,
might be suboptimal mustache conditions.
yes.
But still, I am getting in a pretty good frame of mind here.
Yeah.
Ah,
For me right now, it comes down to Cliff or the Doobie Brothers. As much as that That mustache is part of Dr. Craig's character.
Yeah.
But we did, well, not in that episode, but in the flashback episode, you see him without it. He's still Dr. Craig without his mustache.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I assume Cliff would be a little bit of Cliff, but I do feel like it's part of his. It helps him in his bluster, his particular Cliffness.
It's like a little extra fortification, I think.
Yes, it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And
he leads with his mustache in many a bar debate. I agree with your sentiment, and actually, as I wear this cowboy mustache, I'm thinking, certain kind of cowboys, they're more assertive. John Wayne, in his early films, he didn't have a mustache. He didn't need one.
Right.
Later, he had a mustache, and to me, it wasn't quite the same in some of those movies.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit more self-assured and confident. I'm confident enough to totally agree with you, and I think you're on the right track, and I feel just kind of relaxed and confident and self-assured enough that whoever wins this, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it being the Doobie Brothers, but I can also see an argument for Cliff Clavin. But either way, it's cool. I mean, I'm still cool. So
now, Cliff, can you imagine how crippling his self-doubt would be without the mustache? Because he had a lot of it with the mustache.
I'm trying to think if they ever did an episode without his mustache. I don't think they did.
I don't think
and
so.
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't.
Yeah.
Or like threatening to lose the mustache. I'm surprised Gary's Old Town Tavern never did that or anything.
Or Carla.
Yeah. It's almost like, boy, you know what? I think I'm going to remove this mustache.
It seems like it's a safety hazard.
It may be causing a medical emergency.
Yeah, we don't want you to develop asthma on the.
No, I think the emergency is passed because we've gone through some due deliberation here. So.
Yeah.
But boy, that. Ooh. Wow. it's kind of weird. I'm kind of coming down from the high of having that mustache on. But where were we?
We were talking about Cliff a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the Doobies, they provide such a unified front. That facial hair certainly helped with that.
They do, and it's fascinating because, as you said, there's a rich diversity of facial hair in the band.
Yeah.
But yet somehow they combine like the sum of the facial the whole of the facial hair is greater than the sum of its parts. It's almost like some massive collective facial hair going on,
right?
Which kind of speaks to the ethos of the band. Really, it's a band. It talks about music and cooperation and love and.
Yeah, and yet. Some people's facial hair stands out just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Michael McDonald's beard stands out a little bit more.
It does.
Just as he stood out a little bit more than some of the other members.
But it doesn't mean that they're not all essential parts of the band.
Exactly.
And every facial hair has its role to play and does so very well in the episode, I think. And there was a lot of Doobie Brothers and a lot of Doobie Brothers facial hair in that episode because remember, I think we heard about 7 or 8 songs of theirs.
Yes.
In a 2-parter.
We did.
Well, it's another good season for facial hair, I think. That's all we can say. But I'm just impressed by the what's happening. Really made an impression on the Blue Ribbon nominating committee this year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's coming down to, for me, it's a little bit of a toss-up, but I think it comes down to the argument of episode versus series. If it were a series, I would give more credence to Cliff Clavin's 250 episodes of mustache performance.
Yeah.
But in this particular episode, Cliff was provided outstanding support, but the episode didn't revolve around his facial hair, as it did maybe with the Doobie Brothers, where not only was the facial hair entertaining and aesthetically pleasing and good in its role, but it drew a bunch of people to a big charity concert, too.
And then it helped intimidate Al Dunbar.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I think I'm leaning towards the Doobie Brothers now.
I think this is a big night for the Doobie Brothers.
It really is, yeah. This is the biggest night they've had in probably 40 years.
I think the Doobie Brothers.
All right.
I mean, it's really hard just to argue with the diversity of the facial hair there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's such a representative of its times too.
It was a big advantage over the other candidates, but well deserved. Well done, Doobie Brothers.
Yeah. So the next category is one connected to the previous one in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding hair.
Ooh, yes.
Outstanding hair.
Yeah.
So the nominees in this category are Phil Donahue, Sam Malone, Jem, Jane Kennedy from Greatest Sports Legends, Lena Lerner, also from Jem, Mike Seaver, and the Huntress from Legends of the Superheroes.
Ah, wow.
Well,
interesting assortment of folks here, would you say? And
yes,
one of the co-ed categories. I like the fact that men and women compete on equal footing in this category.
Yeah.
Because outstanding hair knows no gender. And we got some legends. Of course, Sam Malone's hair is legendary,
Yes.
as is Phil Donahue's, I would argue.
Yeah.
And
Sam Malone's is legendary in his own mind.
that's true. Some of these might not be as well known as some of the people, but Jane Kennedy, she had pretty good head of hair.
Yeah.
Interviewing Bob Uecker in that Greatest Sports Legends episode.
Right.
Lena Lerner reminded many of a certain 70s and 80s songstress.
Yes.
And, maybe this goes back to something we've talked about before. I just thought of this. Many might think that Lena Lerner was wearing a wig. Does that influence your decision any?
Personally, but then we also maybe have to talk about Sam Malone.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what period of Ted Danson's life he had to wear a partial hairpiece, right? But it was definitely by the end of Cheers, because they revealed it on the show.
Yeah, and
And but the hair that he has is still, even today, is outstanding.
Yeah.
It just, he's missing some in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I would say we'll accept wigs and toupees.
Okay.
I think at some point we might need to do an outstanding fake hair category.
Matter of fact, I think we should build an entire season of episodes based around
toupees and
building
wigs
to a possible baddies category, because I would like to do that myself. Mike Seaver had interesting hair.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he would do much better in a blue eyes category than a.
Yeah.
At least his hair, I think, is unlike maybe some of his friends, is not that dated.
No.
So I mean, he's got curly hair, but there's a little bit of an 80s-ness to it. But it's like curly, if you can feather curly hair. But,
yeah. And I'll say this, it's distinctive, and I kind of like it adds a little diversity to this category.
Yeah.
I guess it was popular at the time and probably a part of his appeal, but you and I, we discussed this. We weren't huge fans of his. We weren't really in the target demographic, so
yeah.
His hair didn't speak to me so much. But, I think he's probably just an honor to be nominated in this category.
Yeah, I think so. Huntress, again, I don't know if we even know if that was real hair or a wig.
It's possible that it was a wig.
Yeah.
Quite a lustrous mane, if it were, but nice, worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Not a lot of dialogue for the Huntress in those
no.
the superhero shows.
No, and I don't know that she used her hair in any way. I don't know if anybody here used their hair to particular advantage.
No.
But yeah, and Jane Kennedy's hair is nice.
Mm-hmm.
She's an attractive woman. Can I mention we haven't seen these categories. I was going to mention a typographical error the Blue Ribbon Committee made.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a couple of times mentioning Jane Kennedy, it said Jane Meadows.
Yes.
Who, frankly, did have an interesting head of hair.
She certainly did.
Yes, wife of Steve Allen.
Yeah.
But, when I think of Jane Meadows, I don't think of Jane Kennedy.
I don't either. Not usually.
I guess they
there
both...
may have been one or two occasions where I did mix the two.
Yeah. I guess they both spell their name with the Jayne.
Yes.
Yes.
That definitely puts them...
Oh.
And I will say that, Jane Kennedy, she probably just went to a hairstylist and asked for, I don't know how women do this, like number 8 on this. Is that how women get
they've
their hair
got a
done?
chart, yeah.
Number 8. Whereas Jane Meadows, it's very likely that her husband invented her hair. So I would give her some credit for that, but of course she's not in this category, unfortunately.
Right.
So
yeah. To me, it comes down the top 3 on the list, I think.
Yeah.
Like Donahue's iconic hair.
I would have a hard time of voting Lena Lerner over Jem in her own show.
Yeah. I mean, Jem's hair is pink.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the opening credits are moving all around. And
right.
It's exciting. Is it real? I mean, that's a question. Her hair's a hologram, right?
I would think, yeah. As all of her is.
Her clothes. I mean, her makeup and her hair and her clothes. Yeah. Gas. I don't understand how that works.
It's outrageous.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely part of the image of Jem.
Yeah.
Is that hair. And, of course, it existed in doll form, too.
Right.
And, yeah, and the other two are, you can't think of Phil Donahue without thinking about his hair.
No, you could do like a caricature of Donahue with just like the hair and the glasses, and you'd instantly know who it is.
Yeah.
Or you should, anyway.
Right. Yeah.
At the time, you could have.
Yes.
So I think that's in his favor.
Yeah.
In the episode we did, his hair was certainly, on point, I would say.
Right.
And Sam Malone, we're kind of, because we considered 2 episodes, we're considering his hair in 2 episodes, and including his courtship of Diane, and his hair was pretty good, and especially in that first episode, that early episode with Diane.
She didn't say it, but I imagine that's part of his appeal.
Yeah.
His mane of hair.
Yeah. Well, she often referred to him as a beast, I believe, and probably part of it was that hair.
Right.
She may not have wanted to admit it.
Yeah.
She may have preferred to think that she preferred what was underneath people's hair, but in this case, it was what's on top of the head, not what's inside it, that may have counted. I always had a hard time accepting that Sam Malone's hair was not real.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that when that was. I've kind of tried to deny that that's actually part of the Cheers show.
But again, it's
canon.
only like part of it, so it's and like when I think of his hair most, I think of sort of the front, and that part is real.
Yeah, I would eliminate Jem because on that show, her hair didn't really stand out. I mean, it was of its time, and not necessarily as distinctive as it should be to win this award, I think.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with having her being in his final three, but not necessarily with voting her over Phil Donahue or Sam Malone.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
It's also cartoon hair, so it's always hard to.
Yeah. It's hard for me.
It's an abstraction of hair.
Right. It is. Yeah. A holographic abstraction of.
Right. The holographic that part really bothers me.
Yeah. 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 I can tell it's.
Yeah.
You've got some reservations about.
Like what if like she's almost kissing Rio and he's touching her hair. What is he?
Yeah.
What's happening there?
He's running his hands through what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a hologram.
Or her real identity's regular hair.
Yeah.
Like this feels like it's in a ponytail, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree, Mike. Which leaves us with
Sam.
two who episodes weren't necessarily built around their hair, but were both outstanding career-wise and episode-wise. And it's what a tough choice. Phil Donahue and Sam Malone, two opposite ends of the masculine ideal in the 1980s.
I wonder if Phil Donahue was vain about his hair, or is.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, that's an interesting point.
Because Sam Malone definitely is.
Yeah, Sam Malone is. Phil let it go white early.
Mm-hmm.
Was that in itself a career move, or did he just like, okay, this is who I am?
Yeah.
Was it a lack of vanity, or was that somehow a move of vanity
to
make him stand out from a Sally Jesse Raphael or a Mike Douglas?
Right. He realized Sally Jesse Raphael had her red glasses.
Yeah.
Her signature red glasses.
Yeah. Phil.
I mean, he had glasses, but
he wasn't going to compete with her in the glasses.
Yeah. I don't know what Mike Douglas's signature look was. His grin? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, his affable grin, yes.
Yeah. Who else did he?
Dinah Shore.
Yeah. I don't know that she had something, because Burt Reynolds was into her.
Yeah, she had a smart hairstyle.
Yeah.
But.
Or was it like by going gray, he was giving himself more gravitas?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Did it help him moderate discussions because people respected him and would submit more to his authority and just defer to him more intellectually that because of his hair.
Yeah.
So really, it's kind of like an intellectualism versus machismo and charisma, because Sam Malone was able to lure let's face it, the female population of the greater Boston area with his hair. It was a big part of himself. Boy, I don't know.
Are we going to have to random number this?
It seems to me we got two sides of the same coin. I don't know how, but I felt like saying that. And it seems to me flipping a coin would be absurd. However, doing a random number generator, then I'd feel confident that we made a good decision here.
So this was the two sides of the masculinity coin.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whose face do you think is on the masculinity coin? Tom Selleck?
Yeah, I would, but that would definitely be a good choice. What animal or what?
Yeah.
Is it a building?
Yeah.
What would be on the other side?
I don't know.
The tails.
Maybe a barber pole. Or a pool hall. All right, folks, this is it. We're going to the random number generator.
So, yes, between 1 and... I will randomly pick a number. A range, of course.
You're going to do this yourself. Do you need me to get out my phone to randomly pick a random number?
5,232.
Okay.
Okay, so even would be...
Even would be Sam Malone because he's even Steven. He tries to keep things in an even keel.
Uh-huh.
Phil Donahue deals with a lot of odd people on his show.
Okay.
So he would be odd.
Thank you, Jerry Seinfeld. or George Carlin. One of those. And it gave us 1.
Really? That was the random number?
I don't know, because now it says minimum.
Oh no.
I think we need to try this again, just in case.
You'd think that the snow globe would be well disposed to randomness and elements of chaos, but it seems to be resisting it somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to know.
What was the last? It was 500, 5,000.
5,232, was it?
That sounds right. It's definitely 32. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I think.
Enter. Random number 3. Okay, it's
Okay,
still
well,
Sam Malone.
it's
No, Phil Donahue.
Phil Donahue, yes.
Wow.
Of course. Wow, Phil. Well, that's a tough loss for Sam Malone and Ted Danson, but
Oh, yeah.
I at least I feel good about the process, you know.
And we've said it before about some other categories. He might have another chance someday.
That's true, exactly. All right, well, that took a little bit out of me, to be honest with you, but I think we got to move on to the next category. We got
All right.
a lot to go here, and this is outstanding performance as oneself.
Ah,
So this encompasses, guest spots or nonfiction, all kinds of things. We'll see. I believe it is my turn to read, correct?
yes.
All right, first we have Ed McMahon from Legends of the Superheroes, Phil Donahue from his own show, Gary Deeb, also from the Phil Donahue Show, the media critic in Chicago, Buddy Ebsen from Hardcastle on McCormick, the Doobie Brothers, we've talked plenty about them, and the great Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball from Greatest Sports Legends. I tell you what, I don't know who's going to win this, but I like all these guys. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, this is tough. Now, in Bob Uecker, well, I guess they're all playing versions of themselves. Or in the case of Gary Deeb, he's just being Gary Deeb. But like Bob Uecker was being a heightened version of himself, and we even talked about he was being a different heightened version of himself.
Yes.
He was being like an arrogant,
Right.
sort of, I guess, more smug version of himself than normal.
Right. Normally, he's more self-deprecating. In this case, the joke was that he was not aware that he was so bad.
So it was still self-deprecating, but
Yeah.
not in.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Bob Uecker, the person was being self-deprecating, but Bob Uecker, the character,
Yes.
was not.
Right. I'm not saying that disqualifies it, but it does make it a little different.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good point. Yes.
You know, Ed McMahon certainly brought his Ed McMahonness to the role. Phil Donahue was very Phil Donahue. Gary Deeb he didn't seem to be pulling any punches.
He did not. He took no quarter.
Yeah.
From John Hurt, from
Right.
Phil Donahue, from the audience.
From Three's Company.
That's right. Yeah, he was. He was willing to speak his mind. Yes.
And he didn't care if you were judging him for liking MASH so much.
That's right. He was willing to put it out there.
He could mention it once, or he could mention it 8 times. Whatever it called for, he was going to do it. He wasn't going to back off
Yes.
from talking about MASH. Buddy Ebsen was very entertaining in Hardcastle McCormick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, if it was a real representation of Buddy Ebsen, but I liked that version of Buddy Ebsen.
I did as well.
I liked that he wanted to dig in and do some real police work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Doobie Brothers, we've spoken their praises quite a bit here, and they certainly did outstanding job being themselves.
They did.
Performing their music,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up against bootlegging.
Mm-hmm. Becoming law enforcement agents of
Yes.
of a kind at the end.
Right. Taking the law into their hands.
Yes, creating a plan to take down Al Dunbar.
Yeah.
Ultimately capturing him.
Right. Oh.
I liked all these. So let me
Yeah.
talk a little bit about my man Gary Deeb.
Yeah.
What I liked about Gary Deeb was that he made his points in a clear, succinct manner. He had no agenda other than promoting what he saw as good television. And I thought he was very even-handed, and I liked the way he made his discussions. So that's one of the reasons I like Gary Deeb so much. And he was a little bit of a revelation in the sense that we didn't know Gary Deeb before this episode, and
No.
we sure did afterwards.
Yeah.
He made an impression. So I think that's why, if I had to guess, I would say that's why Gary Deeb is in this category with some more famous people.
Mm-hmm.
He's in tough competition, though, I got to say.
He is. And any other year, I think Ed McMahon might run away with this.
Yes,
Or
he
Phil
was-
Donahue.
Yeah. Ed was a classic MC and
Yeah.
was working very hard in those in that roast special
Yes.
to keep things going, I might add.
He never lost his spirit.
Mm-hmm.
He embraced everything about it.
Yeah.
And he revealed that he had superpowers.
That's right. That's right.
Plus the aforementioned taking a beating from Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that, as you were too, I know. And
Yeah.
it was a well-rounded, versatile performance by Ed McMahon as himself. But Euchre was really hilarious, though.
It was very funny.
One of those things where every time you see him, you just have to smile, if not laugh, because just the way he does things is funny, inherently funny.
Yeah.
Well, If I may be so bold, Mike, I would go ahead and eliminate Buddy Ebsen. I agree with you. I really liked him, but it's just not his baddies.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if we get to Barnaby Jones, sometimes he'll come back. But this one, I can't. I can't vote for him against this competition.
Yeah. Setting another 5 minutes on the timer. I think we're going to need it.
Well, it's a tough one. We don't really need to say a lot more about the Doobie Brothers, but
No.
We've said a lot, but I certainly wouldn't eliminate them in this category because they were so good, and I will say they obviously captured the imagination of our listeners.
Yes.
So I take great stock in that.
Yeah. I wouldn't eliminate Gary Deeb. You make a good argument for him. And I don't know that I would eliminate Phil Donahue. I mean, he was being Phil Donahue.
He was, and he was getting a little bit of that. He got in some of the leading questions and doing a little bit of the challenging. I mean, that was relatively subdued for Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
And he still, was pretty funny in that. So, even though I don't know if he was intending to be funny, but I'll still give him credit.
Yeah, I think a couple times
yeah,
he was.
He was, yes, that's right. I guess we thought Phil did a pretty good job of bringing in voices that weren't otherwise represented in that discussion.
Yeah.
And I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. I did see him in a clip from an appearance on Sesame Street where I thought he was playing himself maybe even better than on his...
Wow. I can see that, I can see that.
He was running all over the street questioning people and rushing them, saying, making sure they asked questions and not gave statements. And
yeah. Well, I'll say this: like the Donahue that we chose to watch with the Cleanup TV campaign, it was a very interesting subject, and it brought us, Batty nominated John Hurt and Gary Deeb, of course.
Right.
However, it wasn't necessarily a classic Donahue showcase. He was good in it, as we've talked about, but it wasn't necessarily the quintessential Donahue. Like if you wanted somebody to watch an episode of Donahue, you wouldn't necessarily pick this.
Right.
I think it was good for our purposes and good for the show, but.
Yeah.
So that might hurt Donahue a little bit here. He didn't have as many signature moments as some of these other competitors.
Has Ed McMahon been in this category before?
I believe he was nominated in the at least for the Chips episode that he was.
Yeah.
I mean,
his first two appearances were the same, both in the first season, right?
Yeah, because he was in Alf.
Yeah.
And
Chips. Yeah.
Again, it kind of goes to philosophy. I mean. We don't want to give him a career award, but I don't necessarily want to penalize him for already being nominated.
No. I was curious.
Yeah.
For me right now, I think the dark horse of Gary Deeb is.
You think so?
Just because he stood out so much.
Yeah.
And made such an impression.
He really did.
Whereas Ed McMahon was just doing his job.
Right.
Which is why we liked him in it, but he was just doing his job.
I think Gary Deeb, there was some surprises there. He didn't exactly take the positions that we thought he would, and he did well in that setting. A little bit more surprise. I mean, I don't want to penalize the Doobie Brothers, but
no.
You would expect them to come on and rock.
Yeah.
You would expect them to come on and speak out against bootlegging.
Yes.
You would expect them to come out and surround a two-bit villain at the end, backed by law enforcement officials.
Yeah.
But Gary Deeb, boy, he kind of took us by storm. Boy, it's tough to vote against Bob Uecker too, though.
I know.
That was so entertaining.
Yeah.
But I think you make a point in the sense that it was such a stylized version of Bob Uecker that, as brilliant as that performance was, that could be an argument against him. To me, Deeb, the Doobies, Bob Uecker, I think those are who it would come down to me. The Doobie Brothers were great as themselves too, though. The reason it's so tough is Uecker was more stylized, but Gary Deeb, there was no artifice there.
Exactly.
Same thing with the Doobie Brothers, though. They were keeping it real the whole episode.
Yeah.
Man. As much of an honor it is to determine these awards, sometimes it physically pains me to have to choose between such great candidates. Man. What do you think, Mike?
I don't want to penalize someone for already winning 2 awards, but...
We've done it before, I think.
I think we have. I don't want to, but I'm not necessarily opposed to it. Clearly, I'm bringing it up.
You're putting it out there, yes.
And they're going to show up in another category.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, well, there's 2 ways here. Gary Deeb would shock the world if he won this.
Yeah.
He would make history that way. On the other hand, history might look unkindly if years from now, people wonder, well, how did the Doobie Brothers do so well but not win the award you think would be tailor-made for them?
Right, yeah.
So I don't want to second-guess ourselves and think in terms of that, but
yeah,
it did cross my mind just now. would we be making a mistake by depriving the Doobie Brothers of this award?
It's possible, but
The chance to catapult Gary D back into the national discussion.
Well,
That's tempting too.
It is, yeah. I mean, as much as because we're already catapulting the Doobie Brothers back into the national conversation.
Yeah.
We did it with our episode,
right?
Which is getting all sorts of buzz.
It is. I've heard that, yeah.
And clearly our fans,
yeah,
and our listeners, and the facial hair community.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's what I think. My final opinion here. The listeners had their say, and I respect that. However, I think what we're trying to do is take pure emotion out of it and go for posterity here and just in the moment, but also recognize quality, which says to me, Gary D was about recognizing quality. He wasn't about flash and style. He was about substance. The Doobie Brothers were about style and substances, which is in their favor.
And occasionally flash.
Yes.
They did have someone banging a gong with a flaming mallet.
Yes. I like the idea of giving a vote for Gary D because it's a vote for artistic merit, for quality, and for principle.
And for tweed. He was wearing a tweed jacket, right?
I can't argue with that.
I don't really know if he was, but
in my mind he is not.
In my mind, he was wearing a tweed jacket with patches on the elbows. So we're saying Gary D.
I think we're saying Gary D.
Okay. Yes. Wow.
I hate to say it, but it doesn't get any easier after this, Mike.
No, I know. We're going to take a little pause. We'll have our in memoriam section in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll come back and finish this up. A whole lot more categories. The big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots still to come, folks.
Yes.
Let's hope that Detective Munch doesn't come here in the snow globe and interrogate us based on the last couple of awards. Because I think there could be some controversy here, but we're not afraid of that.
I bet he didn't like the Doobie Brothers. So.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Christoph St. John, Jan Michael Vincent, Morgan Woodward, Catherine Helmond, King Kong Bundy, Sid Sheinberg, Maury Laws, Peter Mayhew, Jim Fowler, Peggy Lipton, Doris Day, Tim Conway, Max Wright, Artie Johnson, Harley Race, Jack Whitaker, Valerie Harper.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of Season 6 Baddies. Now we're really getting into it. I mean, we love those categories we just did, of course. The rest of these categories might be the ones you would expect in an award show.
Yeah, some more conventional categories.
Yes. So this category is Best Song. Now, these are not theme songs. These are songs that were performed in episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Taking It to the Streets by the Doobie Brothers from What's Happening, Gloria by Laura Branigan in Automan, The Limbo Song by David Addison in Moonlighting, All Night Long, not that one, from the Gem Jam, played by the Gem Jam members, and Gimme a Gimmick by the Misfits, also from Gem.
Well, interesting assortment of musical styles here.
Yeah, so we have 2 fictional songs.
Yeah.
2 well-known songs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the Limbo song is well-known, but I don't know if that can be ascribed to any one performer.
Yeah, it's almost like Happy Birthday or something, isn't it? Where you sort of think of it as a generic song now.
Right, yeah.
But David Addison certainly made it his own.
Oh, he did, yes.
I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, actually.
Yeah.
I think maybe everybody in the office would have liked to have seen more of it, but it kind of got interrupted.
Yeah. Well, everybody but one person.
Yes. Well, here's my initial thoughts is, Gloria was probably the biggest hit of Laura Branigan, who was playing Jessie. She was in character, of course, but still playing her, biggest hit on the show, which is a nice treat for everybody.
Yeah.
Taking It to the Streets, how can you pick just one Doobie Brothers hit?
I know.
And they, as we said, they played a lot of songs on that episode, but Taking It to the Streets was the one that really had everybody getting down.
I think so.
I think the cast members, everybody in attendance, yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Limbo song. One thing I would give as a strike against the Gem songs is that I really don't remember those songs.
No.
I mean, they didn't stand out, and other than the theme music in Gem, one drawback is there weren't really a lot of catchy tunes in those episodes, the Gem Jam parts 1 and 2.
Well, I know we were disappointed with the Gem Jam.
Yeah.
The actual jam.
Yeah.
And the Gimme a Gimmick I vaguely remember. But,
yeah.
But it was but also was a little bit unappealing.
Yeah.
Or harsh.
Right. I think
as if performed by a group of angry people.
Right. Yes. Yes.
But filtered through.
Yeah.
An 80s advertising sensibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the Gem episodes didn't really take advantage of the roster of talent they had with Lena Lerner and Roland Owens. And
Johnny Deacon.
Ronnie Cox. Yeah, Johnny Deacon.
Yeah.
All that talent, and really that's the best you could come up with.
Right.
At least with We Are the World, you can still remember that song years later.
Yeah.
This was kind of the similar opportunity that I don't think they capitalized on, so I'm going to eliminate that song.
I would eliminate both of those, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think it comes down to the other three.
Yeah, I think so. And personally, nothing against the late Laura Branigan, but it's not necessarily my thing. Gloria, it's a memorable 80s hit, but in the context of this episode, maybe it was a big deal if you were watching Automan at the time.
Right.
But it doesn't really stand out as much now as the other two songs, so I would probably eliminate that one too.
Okay. The Limbo song, of course, did a little bit contribute to the story of the Moonlighting episode.
It did, yes.
I believe in screenwriting terms, they might call that the inciting incident.
Ah, very nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, David's clowning around.
Yes, it could have been anything, though. Didn't have to be the Limbo song. It was.
Yeah, the Limbo song made for good television and the visual of people dancing around the office and doing the Limbo. Really, with the Limbo song, though, and even if David is doing it with gusto, it's really part of the dance itself, too. The song itself is almost incidental to the activity.
Mm-hmm.
The wholeness of it. As a song, is it really that great a song?
I don't even think it's that great at dance.
Fair enough.
I guess, I mean, I'm not a person that dances in general, but like a participatory dance like that would be even less appealing to me.
Yeah.
Just personally.
And
I can see the appeal. Plus, I know I would lose at it because I'm not that flexible.
Right. What about in an office setting?
Well, in theory, I like the idea of an office descending into chaos as soon as the bosses leave.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It amuses me, but work's got to get done.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm the kind of if I were working in that office but had my particular work ethic, that would really annoy me.
Yeah.
Because I would be trying to work.
Yeah.
And these goof-offs would be doing a Limbo.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a potential for serious back injury, too, let's face it.
Exactly.
Whereas taking it to the streets, it's hard to find fault with anything in that.
Yeah. And now, taking it to the streets, I did mention my wish that the show had ended with them reprising that as they all walked out of the diner. Everybody singing it. And that's something I think I would participate in that.
Yeah.
If I were in that situation, if I had been there and seen the Doobie Brothers show up and help turn someone into the police and then walked out of the building taken to the streets a cappella.
Yeah.
I might not have sung or clapped my hands, but I think I would have gone and marched out in the street with them.
I could see that. See that. I wouldn't blame you one bit.
Yeah. Or just would have smiled and kept eating my hamburger.
Yeah. Either way. I think that Take It to the Streets combines the ethereal harmonies of the Doobies and the beauty of music with the gritty reality of the Doobie Brothers' sensibility. Taking it to the streets.
Yeah.
That's they're as authentic as it gets.
Right, and it's got their R&B aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you mentioned the harmonies,
mm-hmm.
but also is Michael McDonald era. So
yep.
You get that.
I think this is an easy choice. Actually, I would go with Taking It to the Streets.
Boy, the Doobies are running away with things.
They sure are.
Yeah.
It keeps you running. All these awards that they're winning, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, best song.
Best song. Yeah. I think that might have been their last opportunity, though.
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah. Yes. I could be wrong.
You never know. The commission, the Blue Ribbon Commission, could surprise us. Well, let's move on to the next one then.
Yes.
This is best theme song with vocals. Now, if this is your first time listening to a Batty ceremony, we divide them into the instrumental versions of theme songs and the ones with vocals and lyrics because it's just difficult to compare.
It's
things.
apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Unless it's a season where we don't have enough nominees in one area.
Yeah, then we're certainly willing to throw out the integrity of the award and put everything together.
Right.
All right, so for the best theme song with vocals, we have Gem and the Holograms, the theme song from Growing Pains, the theme song from Moonlighting, the theme from Cheers, and the themes from Hardcastle and McCormick. Now, there's a little Hardcastle and McCormick had multiple theme songs, but we talked about both of them. So,
but the episode we talked about had the drive,
right,
the rockin'.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I could see in other years voting for any of these because they're all pretty top flight choices.
Right.
I mean, the Gem, as you already mentioned, was the best song in in Gem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is a wonderful animated sequence.
And arguably the first thing that people remember when you mention the show to them.
Right.
Maybe even more than the dolls.
Yeah. I mean, Growing Pains song is a classic kind of 80s sitcom theme song. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily saying it's a good song.
Yeah. Understood.
But it does, and it's in my head right now, despite these other songs. And I did, I did purchase and listen to a Steve Dorff and Friends CD.
You did do that, yes. And reported on it to great effect on our website. Yes, check it out, folks, if you haven't already.
Moonlighting, we talked about how much we like that song, despite the curious lyrics.
Yes.
And then that whole opening sequence. Cheers is Cheers. It's one of the greats. And Drive, I mean, I loved that song as a kid. It's a cool opening theme song. Another great song from the Mike Post, Pete Carpenter Factory. Mm-hmm. But for me, there's only one choice, despite all these other good choices, which is Cheers. Mm-hmm. I find it difficult to argue against Cheers.
Well, let me give it a try.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something here. It was all very well said. I would eliminate Hardcastle and McCormick would be the first one. I was never that into the show, and the song doesn't resonate with me as much. Gem, man, that is... You almost wish that there were like a live-action, like great show that deserved that theme song, because the theme song is so cool. Growing Pains, yes, I can't say it any better than you did as far as Growing Pains, but I would not vote for it. To me, it comes down between Moonlighting and Cheers, and this might be a little controversial, but as much as I love the Cheers opening, to me it's more like the atmosphere and the graphics, everything, the credits, the style of everything, and the mood, whereas as a pure song, I really enjoy the Moonlighting song better by the great Al Jarreau. Whereas the Cheers song, I'm not a big fan of the... I almost wish that they were a little bit nitpicking here, but we're talking about great stuff here. I'm not a huge fan of the vocal performance in the Cheers theme song. It's a little too... I hear it now and I think of Punky Brewster when I hear it. You know, it's... Whereas Moonlighting, I can listen to... If Moonlighting comes on came on the radio and I'm just listening to the song, I would listen to it and enjoy it as a song. The Cheers song, if it came down to itself, like, oh, this makes me want to go watch a Cheers, but as a song itself, I don't think it holds up. To me, I personally like the Moonlighting song better. However, that being said, I understand that Cheers is an iconic, classic theme song, and everything together, it does go together, and we do consider things all together. But I do love that Moonlighting because to me that sums up the 80s in a way with the vocals and the mood of Moonlighting, the romantic comedy and the LA, the graphics, that did a great job as well. So I want to give that a little discussion too. That's why if it were me just voting, I would probably vote for Moonlighting. However, I can be persuaded Cheers because of its historical significance and the fact that it's such a classic.
Well, I agree with you on the radio part because I think the super extended version of the Cheers song is too much.
Yeah.
Like the full length song, although I don't like the truncated one. The syndicated, truncated.
Right. Like, remember, didn't they play it like in the last Cheers, the presentation, they had something where it involved playing the whole rest of the song.
Yeah.
It was kind of like,
There's like another verse.
It almost it almost lessened it. I mean, I'm not penalizing it here, but I agree with you.
On the other hand, if you heard it, not only you said it would make you want to watch an episode of Cheers, which is a pretty good thing, but would it evoke the other things you associate with that opening? Would it still evoke the mood and, bring up those images in your head?
It would.
The Moonlighting probably would do that.
Yeah, to me it's more show specific though, in the sense that I'm thinking of like, oh, how much I love watching Cheers, whereas the Moonlighting song to me makes me think of like, oh, how nice is it like romance and like glamour, but then also kind of like a little underbelly to it and everything. To me, it goes beyond just the show itself, whereas Cheers, it is the show itself, which... There's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of what we're celebrating here, and maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
But just talking about the song itself, Cheers, it doesn't necessarily make, oh, I want to go to a bar and get drunk.
Right.
It makes me like, oh, I want to watch these people that I enjoy go to a bar and get drunk.
Yeah.
Which is an incredibly reductive way of describing Cheers, but
That to me sounds like an argument for that song. So we're
Yeah.
talking about a TV theme song, not just a song.
That's true. But that's true. But it is a song.
It is a song. But
If you prick it, does it not bleed?
No, it's a song.
Yeah. You know what? I don't. I just want to give Moonlighting a little bit of
No, I think
discussion.
it's a great song. And,
Me personally, I think my favorite would probably be Moonlighting, but this has come up before where we might necessarily, I think when we've talked about these categories,
Yeah.
sometimes we'll go to best versus favorite. My personal favorite is Moonlighting, but I have no problem voting Cheers for best. It does what it does too. And going beyond just me, people love it. It would be 1B in this anyway. I've got no problem with Cheers. I think we should probably go with Cheers.
Okay, if it's that easy. I do. The Moonlighting song is great, and we talked about also that opening sequence being wonderful, and Al Jarreau. We still don't know what the Blues and the Braves.
No, that's true.
So, congratulations, Gary Portnoy. You certainly didn't make it with Punky Brewster's theme song.
No.
Enjoy this.
I could argue that his performance of the Punky Brewster theme was actually better than his performance of the Cheers, but I'm not going to do that
You
right
could,
now.
yeah. I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, well, I think we should move on.
okay. This is the best theme song instrumental.
Yes, I believe this is your category.
And then the nominees are Tush from our TBS episode, Legends of the Superheroes, St. Elsewhere, What's Happening, Donahue, Automan, and Greatest Sports Legend.
All right, well, I think a big consideration here should be, after you watch the show, do you remember the song?
Right.
And for some of these, that may not necessarily be the case. Although Tush had a little bit of a kind of a quirky little music. Not so much like a full.
Yeah.
It was like more of a recurring like bit of music, like not
Right.
necessarily a full theme song. It didn't really have a full opening sequence, did it?
No.
You just kind of went in there like I guess they did like a cold open, and then you like.
They did. They had a little seek because they had,
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
they
right,
had
because they did
credits
have the credits.
and
Yeah.
all the like wacky hats and stuff.
Right. When I think of it, I think more like a little bit of the music they'd play during like the bumpers and stuff like
Yeah.
that we saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, let's not spend time on that. Automan, it was not very distinctive.
No, I don't even remember it.
Yeah. Greatest Sports Legends had some cool music, but it had multiple theme songs over the course of its run, and the ones we didn't have the cool theme song. That was more the 70s one, so I'd disqualify that right away. Donahue, wasn't known for his theme music.
Yeah, I can't remember it right now. I can remember the graphics and
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I think we can eliminate that.
But yeah.
Legends of the Superheroes, that's a little bit of music they kept playing that was in my head. That was even not necessarily a really full theme song per se, but some distinctive, catchy music. But to me, it comes down to St. Elsewhere and What's Happening, two very memorable instrumental theme songs.
Yeah, to me at least, they don't entirely fit the show. Like St. Elsewhere, we forgot to talk about it at all.
Okay, that's
but
right.
it's very memorable, and especially when you watch the whole series. But
Yes.
right. It's all different synthesizers. It's very upbeat. It was like the opposite of the Hill Street Blues, where the Hill Street Blues theme song totally fit that show.
Yeah, we talked about it.
And the St. Elsewhere's theme song is just so just positive. I mean, it has like a little bit of a bridge section that's kind of a little more melancholy. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's this very upbeat piece of music and just has a very specific arrangement to it, like where there are a couple episodes that have a different arrangement, and it's only slightly different, but it's just like, wait, there's not supposed to be drums in this.
Wow, okay.
It threw me off a little bit. And it's by Dave Grusin, who co-wrote the Good Times theme song and scored movies and did all sorts of stuff. I definitely like it. It's weird that it doesn't necessarily fit the tone of the show. Mm-hmm. And then at least I thought the What's Happening didn't entirely fit the tone of the show either. But I might have been off base with that.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's not totally out of left field to say that.
Yeah.
And just the fact that we know that Henry Mancini did it is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I think you make a good point about St. Elsewhere. Like, to me, the St. Elsewhere theme song is like if you took the David Morse character and focused on him, but didn't have him like be a total like sad sack and have everything bad thing happen. If you were like following his progress,
Yeah.
and like, but it was like just kind of a conventional TV show about a young doctor making it, but ultimately he would be making it. So I agree with you, but that's what the song evokes to me.
It is very
more
youthful.
positive and upbeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
really,
in that way it fit because they're all these young doctors.
yeah, it doesn't really capture like and that's one of the things that I find interesting about the show is like people tell you how run down the hospital is, but some of the episodes you don't necessarily get that because there's so many fine doctors there that we see.
Yeah.
And that song definitely does not
No.
suggest like in Hill Street Blues that kind of melancholy that
No, it almost suggests like a really good hospital.
Yeah, I agree.
Like a high-tech hospital.
Yeah. What's happening is just kind of just louder, more raucous, and just kind of in your face, and it's attention grabbing, I think. And boy, I love that that organ breakdown in the middle. I just got to go back to that.
I don't know if I would call like raucous is not the word I think of.
Really? I mean, because it starts right in there. It's just kind of to me. I think it's kind of in your face. It kind of, if anything, it kind of suggests to me a little bit of the insult comedy that is so prevalent in what's happening. It's just kind of like, okay, here it is. Here's what's happening right now. Wow, 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 wow. Just kind of.
Okay.
Personally, I prefer what's happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm leaning that way too. Right now, I don't remember it enough. Like, when we talked about the episode, I said it reminded me of like a Sunday afternoon. Like, it seemed more relaxed.
Huh.
Like you're using terms that I just don't associate with it. But isn't there a tuba in it?
Yeah. Yeah. To me,
A tuba could be raucous. I'm not saying.
It doesn't necessarily suggest relax. I mean, it's funny because we are saying like we hear that song two totally different ways. And it's just funny because we interpret it totally differently. But I guess just as a song, I like it better than the St. Elsewhere.
I would.
But I like the St. Elsewhere one. But it takes me a minute to orient myself and like, okay, like once I get it in my head of like, okay, that's the St. Elsewhere song.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come to mind right away like the What's Happening one does.
Right. Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Okay. Well, let's go What's Happening then.
And especially since I bullied you into the cheers by saying almost nothing.
Yeah, that was diabolical of you. Man, just with that relentless letting me talk.
Yeah.
Brilliant strategy. We're getting into some of the big performance categories. Correct?
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is you.
All right, well, we're starting off here with this next quartet of categories with the Outstanding Male Supporting Actor, or Outstanding Male Performer, if you will. We got some good ones here I see right now. Okay, we've got Kelsey Grammer from Cheers, John Ratzenberger from Cheers, George Wendt from Cheers.
Coach from No. Go ahead.
I don't see it on my list here.
No.
Okay. Well, would have been a good one to be in there, so now that you mentioned it. Frank Gorshin from Legends of the Superheroes, and Alan Hale Jr. from Growing Pains, the This Is Your Life episode.
Right.
Well, what do you think? 5 legends, not Nicholas Colasantos is not one of them,
No.
but we got some good ones in there.
I would, God bless the skipper, but I think I would eliminate him.
Yeah, I enjoyed his wide-eyed enthusiasm.
I did too.
But, not his year here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I eliminate him too.
Boy, Frank Gorshin really gave it his all.
He sure did, and he was better than his material.
Yeah.
He was better than the show.
Yeah.
So good for him, and he stood out in a large cast. He did stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough to beat Solomon Grundy for Best Villain earlier.
That's true.
Say, yeah, I think maybe that's telling the more I think about it. But
I would say leave him right now, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the Cheers guys, I love all of those guys and all of those characters. And in fact, of course, on our episode, made the claim that Cliff Clavin might be one of the greatest TV characters ever. So
yeah, you did.
I don't know. Of those 3, it's tough. I think if I had to eliminate one of those right now, it would be George Wendt. But
I would only because of the episodes we talked. They weren't Spotlight Norm episodes.
Yeah. And of course, they weren't Spotlight Cliff episodes either. But
true.
Yeah, I think
it's
I would probably go Kelsey Grammer out of those 3.
I think so too. I mean, let's put it this way. We chose that episode because we kind of wanted to do a Frasier episode because we recognized how important he was and just kind of a pivotal character. And to me, he's an interesting character because he wasn't there from the very beginning, but he fit in so well. He spanned both eras of the show. Yeah, I think I would go Kelsey Grammer just because he stood out. He was so good in that episode.
Yeah.
And the episode was built around that character, and and what we knew about the character already, and he did a great job with it.
Right, and it was really, we talked about it, kind of like a foundational episode for him.
Yeah.
In terms of like really integrating him into the cast.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just choose him. I would just definitely choose him over Frank Gorshin. So.
Yeah, I think we can eliminate Frank Gorshin.
Yeah.
As good as he was, I when you got three of the best characters of all time, I think.
Right.
It's not Gorshin's day here either. I hope by voting against Norm Peterson, I hope that doesn't affect how he handles our accounting business if we give him that.
Hey, if we buy him a couple beers, he'll be fine.
One thing we might mention too is, again, is not really how we should be thinking, but we're going to revisit Cheers at some point.
That's true.
And all three of them are going to be there, but definitely Cliff and Norm will be there. And there's so many episodes that I have a feeling we might find an episode that spotlights one or both of them more than these ones we did. They were great, but
yes,
I would lean towards Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Also, just good with determining something before the timer goes.
Yeah, hey, that's a refreshing thing. Well. Hey, congratulations, Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
For Frasier on Cheers. Well done.
Okay. The next category then is Outstanding Female Supporting Actress, Performer, Person.
Yes.
Christy Swanson from Growing Pains, Cocaine Girl. I know she had a name, but Barbara Bain, the villain of sorts from Moonlighting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rhea Perlman from Cheers, of course. Betty White from St. Elsewhere. Jan Hooks from Tush, and Laura Branigan from Automan.
Some interesting choices in here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to eliminate, personally, a couple people here. Jan Hooks is great. Mm-hmm. And, she's almost so underrated for her time on Saturday Night Live that she's become overrated because everybody points that out.
Yeah.
I say almost. I wouldn't go so far yet. Tush, on that show, it was just cool saying, hey, here's Jan Hooks, but it wasn't one of her more memorable things.
No, but she was still... of the performers was a standout.
She stood out. I didn't necessarily care for one of the characters. Well, anyways, I'm going to eliminate her.
Okay. And
Christy Swanson, it was an important part of that episode, but just kind of playing a typical airheaded, shallow cocaine user. Didn't bring a lot of depth to it.
Right.
Maybe not much there too, but didn't make as much of an impression on me.
Maybe if we'd seen her with the cocaine.
Yeah, that would definitely have helped.
Yeah.
Is there any footage of Christy Swanson with cocaine, you think?
Let's not speculate. I'm not going to speculate on that. Yeah.
Laura Branigan was surprisingly, playing a variation of herself, but had some surprisingly tender scenes with Automan.
Yeah.
And
she made us believe that a woman could fall in love with a hologram.
That's a perfect point. Very well said. I can't add to that.
Yeah, I'm going to give her acting credit that I don't think if you just watched that episode and you didn't know, this is pop singer Laura Branigan, you wouldn't necessarily, you might think, that actress can sing well. Rather than, what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't think even though it was a stunt, she wasn't bad at the job.
No. I think that's high praise and earned praise. That's well said, too.
That said, I don't,
Yeah, me neither.
Up against the likes of Betty White and Rhea Perlman.
Yeah, I wouldn't vote for either.
No.
Barbara Bain, that was an odd episode of Moonlighting, and I'm sure she brought a little gravitas to the episode.
Yeah. But,
not as much of a standout to me as it comes down to the two you just mentioned. Betty White, who was great against type almost, as a military officer in St. Elsewhere, and Rhea Perlman, who does Carla, somebody that annoyed me a little bit younger, but now I really appreciate her and think she adds to everything that she's in.
Yeah.
So to me, it would come down to those two.
Was Rhea Perlman on Hot in Cleveland?
I don't know. You think she would have at least done a guest shot? That would have been a natural.
There was Betty White.
Betty White, Jane Leaves, Wendy Maley,
Valerie
Bertinelli.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
She wasn't regular.
Yeah, she should have been.
Yeah.
Would have really livened that up.
She had remember she had her own, didn't she have a TV Land show, or she had a show called Rhea or something?
I think she did.
Around the same time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Or she was in the Michael Richards show that was on TV Land.
Michael Richards had a show on TV Land?
I'm pretty sure he did. Well, we'll get the crack research team on that.
Yeah.
We haven't given them enough to do so far.
We haven't. This season, we didn't give them a lot of credit.
The crack research
team?
Yeah,
we should have.
They worked very hard. They did yeoman's work as always.
Yeah, I think we're starting to take them for granted.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, a public apology to the crack research team for spending way too much time focusing on the 2 to 11-year-old demographic and not enough time on the crack research team.
Yeah. And we didn't even have them research crack this year. We did several episodes involving cocaine.
Yeah.
And that would have been a natural, but we didn't even do that. So
no.
Apologies.
Yeah.
No slight intended.
Right. We were looking out for them. We didn't want to
Yeah.
get them too deep into the research.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, it comes down to those two for me too. And Betty White was terrific in the dramatic role, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Rhea Perlman just 'cause she's so effective in that role,
Yeah.
and it's such an important, like, different kind of role than other characters have on that.
I agree, and I think one thing we mentioned was sort of like the little exchange with her and Coach, that just the two of them in the power play episode. I think they were just having like a little thing where just kind of going back and forth and sort of realizing that that they've told these same stories over and over again. And I really enjoyed that running thing between them.
Yeah.
And it showed that there was more to her than just the sassiness, but was still there. But she's such a great foil for Diane and for Cliff. Yeah, Betty White was great, and maybe almost hurt a little bit by the fact that Cheers, there's a lot of characters in that, but St. Elsewhere, there was so much going on in there that Betty White didn't have as much to do in that one. She didn't stand out. I think maybe the other episode that she was in,
Yeah.
she had more to do in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Rhea Perlman for this. She was great.
I think so. All right.
Interesting that the more prestigious categories are the ones we seem to talk less about.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, we go to Outstanding Male Performer. Is this mine?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, well this is some heavyweight talent in here, folks. Ted Danson from Cheers, Alan Thicke from from Growing Pains, Bruce Willis from Moonlighting, William Daniels from St. Elsewhere, and Adam West from Legends of the Superheroes.
Wow.
Oh, many of these were my heroes growing up. Mike.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's another one of those. If in another year, it would be easy if just one of these people were in a category.
Right.
But to have all of them.
Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, we certainly praised Alan Thicke and his exasperation.
We did.
And we praised him for being a pretty effective TV dad.
Yeah. We were pleasantly surprised, I think, by how well his work holds up.
Yeah. Still, against the likes of Ted Danson, Bruce Willis, William Daniels, and Adam West.
Yeah.
I
think we can eliminate him too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Adam West certainly did the most he could with the material he got.
He really did. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that the material was maybe a little below standard.
Yeah. Sure.
And he even managed to do that while wearing that goofy cowl.
That's a good point. Yes, he was really inhibited by that. He could have been, but he didn't really seem to be.
No.
He came up with a great catchphrase: "Superheroes disperse."
Yes.
I really enjoyed him.
Yeah. Again, I think I could eliminate him.
I think so too. It pains me to do it.
Yeah.
But it's just not for this. Not for this. I don't think it was necessarily award-winning performance. So I was sure glad he was there, though.
Yeah. The other three, this is tough. Because it was a standout episode for William Daniels.
It was, yeah.
He got to both play the normal Dr. Craig unpleasantness, but also drop that a little bit. And
yeah.
Show some decency, empathy for someone.
Right.
Bruce Willis, of course, we thought he was hilarious. And
yeah.
Ted Danson was fantastic in both episodes, but especially the power play episode.
Yeah.
Which was a really great comedic performance, but had an air of drama about it too. Because it was dealing with their emotions. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think as I ponder this category, I think hurts William Daniels a little bit is I'm not sure offhand how the Emmys treated him, but that character could arguably be a supporting role, and it's a great character. But he's in there with two of my favorite TV characters of all time, who were leads on their shows.
Right. I believe the Emmys and the show treated him as a lead.
Okay. And I don't have a problem with that, but boy, it's tough for me to vote him over. As someone who I've said that didn't grow up on the show, Bruce Willis and Ted Danson played two of my favorite characters, so I would probably go with one of those over William Daniels. But as much as I respect how great Daniels was, and
I think
every scene he was in was entertaining to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So then we come down to a really difficult choice, in my opinion. It's kind of the career achievement. Who Ted Danson was consistently great and first among equals in an outstanding cast for years and hundreds of episodes. Bruce Willis, the acting may not have been as consistent throughout the show. The show had its issues, but in this particular episode, he was so great that I just can't vote against him right away. I have to consider it a little bit, and I think that's a testament to how great that episode, My Fair David, was.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I don't know. I don't know if I can decide.
Yeah,
I mean, I think again, the power play was maybe one of the great Sam Malone
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
And definitely is good to watch to see that if you're more familiar with the later sort of not quite as bright Sam, because he's still kind of not. He reveals some uneducated aspects of himself. I mean,
Right.
but he also is still kind of intelligent.
He's savvy.
He's savvy, yes, and I even though he wasn't in the exasperation category, again his exasperation during the opening, well, the whole thing really was a comic delight.
Yeah. I'm going to go against my. Earlier, I came down more on the moonlighting Cheers thing, but this time I'm going on the Cheers side because I think Bruce Willis, as great as he was, Ted Danson did more. Granted, he had two different episodes, but it wasn't as prominent as the second one. But he's like the leader of everybody. Just had more to do and was just so impressive, and I can't help but consider the whole body of work. Ted Danson is one of my favorite sitcom actors of all time. I would vote Ted Danson if I had to, and I kind of do because it's my, it's our podcast and I'm here.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think,
I'm not 100%
even
strong about it, but I vote for Ted Danson.
Well, even in the other episode, he had to play. Sam had to be a leader in the sense that he had to realize what was going on and try to calm. I know he was playing a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
Like there was the ambiguity about how he felt about Diane. And
right.
There was the ambiguity of why he was choosing to do things to please her. Was it because he still liked her, or was it just to get her off his back? Or I think there was in both episodes he had more going on, David.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on board with that. But Bruce Willis was great.
Yeah.
We did lament the passing of that Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Yep. There was he was hilarious in that episode, but all around I give it to Ted Danson. I think. I agree. All right, Ted Danson, congratulations.
Wow.
Outstanding work indeed.
Quiet in the early going with Cheers, but
yeah, starting to get some momentum.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have the outstanding female performer in a lead role, Shelley Long from Cheers, Jane Kennedy.
I'm not the only one.
Greatest Sports Legends, Jem from Jem and the Holograms, Sybil Shepherd from Moonlighting, and Mabel King, despite lack of screen time.
Well, it's interesting.
From What's Happening.
It does say that there, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, it's like, who was it, Beatrice Straight, or the actress that won an Oscar for Network, despite being in only like 7 minutes of screen time. I think, Mabel King is enough of a powerful force that I think she's worthy of consideration.
Yeah, she made it on the list. So.
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't have anything to apologize for.
I would go ahead and right away suggest, though, eliminating Jane Kennedy and Jem.
And Jem, yeah, I agree.
Jane Kennedy was a good foil for Bob Uecker. Mm-hmm. She was a good sport about it, and Jem is good at doing what Jem does. But
yeah, there's not much distinctive about Jem, as we kind of alluded to in the hair category.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I would eliminate those.
Mabel King, despite lack of screen time, was very good in that role. And,
yeah.
As you said, it was unfortunate that she decided to leave the show.
Yeah.
Gave it a little adult gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, again, it comes down to the two blondes.
Isn't that how it always is with you? So typical.
Shelley Long and Sybil Shepherd, we sang both of their praises in those episodes.
Yeah, and interesting.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say both of them had sort of reputations for being difficult, right? I mean, and maybe didn't leave their shows under the most ideal circumstances.
Right, and both, I think, maybe for both of us, our opinion of them changed again as adults. Like, they were kind of annoying.
Yes.
But when we were kids watching them, but now looking back at it, we see how, one, they're sometimes supposed to be, but also the amount of work they're doing and holding their own and dealing with these other characters.
Yeah, and appreciating kind of the straight character and what they brought to the show is something that didn't hit me at the time as much as it does now.
Yeah.
And now I think they're both great. Looking at this does say to me that in upcoming seasons I'd like to beef up the female leads if possible in the shows. It's difficult because we've talked about this before. It's difficult because of the time period.
Yeah.
Where there weren't all that many female-fronted shows.
Right, especially dramatic.
Yes. However, I would like to do not so much to to increase diversity, but just to make this baddie category stronger. So I feel it's not as strong as it should be this year.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's almost overshadowed by the supporting category. The more I think about it,
Yeah.
and that's just that's just the way, the nature of the series.
Yeah.
Other possibilities like Joanna Kearns, didn't have a lot to do in the episodes we talked about.
Right.
For Growing Pains. But as far as like the here and now, Shelley Long and Sybil Shepherd, I know who I lean to. I have a lean on this one.
I do too. And I think some of it comes down to the previous category.
Mm-hmm.
That as great as Ted Danson was, part of what made him great was Shelley Long.
Mm-hmm.
It was a two-person. It took two to tango. But
Right.
you could say the same if Bruce Willis had won. The same thing.
Right.
There's that combination, anything that makes it work.
Here's an interesting little thought exercise. Could you see Shelley Long and could you see them switching roles?
I could see Shelley Long playing Maddie Hayes. I don't think I could see Maddie Hayes, or Sybil Shepherd playing Diane.
I agree 100%. I don't know if it means anything, but I think Shelley Long is a little bit more impressive a performer in this context.
Yeah.
Because I think she was more distinctive. I think it would have been harder to find somebody else to do what she was doing than it was to find a Maddie Hayes.
Yeah.
And part of it is, like you said, part of it is the chemistry
Mm-hmm.
that maybe Bruce Willis would have had with another actress. And, we praised her a lot, so I'm not trying to tear her down. But
No.
it just seems to me like what Shelley Long did would have been more difficult to replace than what Sybil Shepherd did.
Yeah. And in fact, when they did have to replace her, they went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Because,
And actually, they did replace her quite well, and the show was
Yes.
better than more popular, arguably, than it ever was. But still.
yeah, but they didn't try to
Yes.
just make a new Diane.
Yes, they didn't have a Diane Chambers. They had a different character. Yes.
Right.
That's why I go Shelley Long. I think it's just, again, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
And Sybil Shepherd, we reassessed her a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not the winner this time. I think it's Diane Chambers gets
Yeah.
it. All right. Wow.
Okay.
Just me, or is that if you don't count the theme song instrumental, that's 5 awards in a row for Cheers.
Yeah.
And the categories that it was eligible for. So
Right.
wow.
So we only have 2 categories plus our special award left.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the first one is the one you'll be introducing.
Okay.
And of course, explain the complicated.
Yes, the best episode.
Yes.
Now, when we say best episode, we always like to point out we're not talking about the best episode of the podcast because they're all the best.
Yeah.
How can you pick one? No, we mean the best episode that we covered on the podcast, not the best episode of the podcast itself. So we've got a lot of choices here, so let's just get to it. We've got Killer Bees from Hardcastle and McCormick, Close Encounters, St. Elsewhere, Murder MTV, Automan, Untitled episode of Tush, Donahue, the Cleanup TV campaign episode, 2 from Growing Pains, Thank God It's Friday and This Is Your Life, the Gem Jam from Gem, Bob Uecker episode of Greatest Sports Legends, the Terry Bradshaw episode of Greatest Sports Legends. From Legends of the Superheroes, we have Challenge of the Superheroes and The Roast of the Superheroes, Doobie or Not Doobie from What's Happening, My Fair David from Moonlighting, and from Cheers, Power Play, and The Heart is a Lonely Snipe Hunter. So there we go. Well, Mike, what do you think? I think there's a few we could probably eliminate fairly quickly here, honestly.
Yeah, I think Gem Jam. Sorry,
Agreed.
Gem fans, we keep coming down on that show.
Yeah.
Hardcastle McCormick,
Yep, sorry, Hardcastle McCormick fans.
Automan, Tush,
Yep,
Terry Bradshaw episode of Greatest Sports Legends.
correct.
Definitely the challenge episode.
Yeah, I
I
think
probably both of them,
as
but
much as I love them, I would eliminate both of them.
yeah,
How about the? I would eliminate the This Is Your Life, Growing Pains.
yeah, I think we gave that an award.
Yeah, we've done it.
Danny Cook.
Probably the Donahue too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So right now that would leave us with Close Encounters from St. Elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God It's Friday, the cocaine episode of Growing Pains.
Correct.
The Bob Uecker episode of The Greatest Sports Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Doobie or Not to Be.
Yeah.
What's Happening. My Fair David from Moonlighting, and both Cheers episodes. Well,
That's a pretty good. Okay, now we can kind of get down to the hard work of things.
yeah.
I would probably eliminate the cocaine episode of Growing Pains.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoyed it, it's not in the same level as these other ones
No.
for many reasons.
Yeah. I mean, the Euchre episode is great of Greatest Sports Legends. It's, I assume, the best episode of that show.
Yeah.
But I don't think the best episode of Greatest Sports Legends holds up to one of, or 2 of the best episodes of Cheers.
Probably not, and it's a gimmick episode.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm good with eliminating that.
Yeah.
As much as I did love that, but yeah.
I mean, the Doobie Brothers technically is a gimmick episode of what's happening.
Yes.
It is a classic of sorts.
Right.
As we mentioned, the second part of it is pretty much just a concert, other than the super cool ending.
There's a lot of filler in there.
Yeah.
What filler, though?
It was, yeah.
But
I mean, you certainly don't normally get that with
yeah.
your guest appearances from musical acts.
I'll say that the Gem Jam wishes it was so entertaining.
For sure.
A two-parter that didn't utilize its musical act as well as it should have.
Right.
Do I hear you right that you're leaning towards eliminating the Doobie Brothers episode of what's happening?
I am, yeah.
Well, I can see by your tone that it's not. I think we can eliminate that too.
Yeah.
Well, just for that, I'm going to eliminate the Close Encounters episode of Seance.
I think that's fine.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it's a really good episode.
Don't get as much pleasure out of that as I thought I would. But no, it was a good episode. But
yeah.
I think it was kind of another one where we didn't necessarily choose it because it was the best episode of the show, but because it was representative and made for interesting discussion.
Yeah, and had a lot of characters. And
yeah. Okay, so that leaves us with My Fair David and 2 Cheers episodes.
Right.
I loved My Fair David. It's almost like if you could choose, and I think if we could choose like the best 10 minutes of anything, it would be like that 10 minutes of My Fair David.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first, except maybe...
or except for the tea.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first, the David and Maddie stuff for like 10, 15 minutes of that is just hilarious.
Yeah.
And the episode as a whole is very good too. Although we had some problems with like the plot.
Right.
Which is kind of important, I guess, in the best episode.
I don't know. If that's not what I don't think the goal of the episode was to tell the crime story at all.
True.
I think it just did it because they have to do it.
True.
And it gave them something to do.
I'm pointing that out because we're taking a hyper competitive look at some things though. And
I could. That is a little bit of a ding that part of it didn't hold our interest.
Yeah.
At all. And frankly, we don't know exactly what happened.
Right. I think that kind of works against it in the sense that it had greatness in it, absolute greatness, and I could easily watch that part of it again, but I don't know if I'd necessarily need to watch the whole episode again. The Cheers episodes were both great. We raved about them.
Yeah. Of
the 2, I might go with Power Play.
I think I would. I really do think that's probably one of the top episodes of that show.
Yeah.
And if people have made lists, it probably comes in there.
Yeah.
And it's so important to the overall. Not that it really had a story, the whole show, but that Sam and Diane.
Yeah.
Getting together. I think that would be my vote.
Yeah. Your vote overall, or?
Yeah, I think overall. I would vote because I would vote for it over Moonlighting, and I would vote for it over the other Cheers episode, even though that's the one I chose.
Right.
For the show.
Yeah, but hey, again, we're talking about 2 great episodes of a great show. So
yeah,
I agree. I think we did it right there, and I think Power Play Cheers from that was season 2, correct?
Yep.
That should be the winner. I think that's the best episode that we covered. But the other ones are great, and we highly recommend some of the ones that are on that list. Many of the ones that are on that list.
Right. So that brings us to the final category before the special award, and this is best show overall. Again, not best podcast, but best show that we talked about.
Yeah.
So we have the list: Tush, Donahue, Legends of the Superheroes, Cheers, Hardcastle and McCormick, St. Elsewhere, Gem, What's Happening, Moonlighting, Growing Pains, Greatest Sports Legends, and Automan.
Well, people that have been following the awards here may, and even the last category, may think that this might go pretty quickly, and those people, I think, would be right. Cheers is on an unprecedented run here.
Yeah.
At these BATTY Awards, and deservedly so. Tush was kind of more of a curio, and I was very glad to see it. Mm-hmm. Very much enjoyed using it as a springboard to talk about TBS, but I think we can eliminate that.
Yeah. Donahue overall is a monumental TV achievement in terms of how long it lasted and essentially creating a format. Then
there were Greatest Sports Legends, which you just totally dismissed in the last category.
No, I did, and the Legends of the Superheroes, I think we.
Yes. Yeah, Greatest Sports Legends fulfilled a role, but it was more of a, kind of a particular subset of viewers that was going for.
Yeah.
And I think Gem, we kind of made our feelings clear about that. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same deal there.
Hardcastle McCormick is fine for what it is. I mean, it's an entertaining sort of buddy cop show.
Right.
With a cool car.
Yes. And Automan existed.
Yeah.
And I had a good time doing that episode.
Also had a cool car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And had Desi Arnaz Jr.
Yes.
But, so eliminate Growing Pains.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Spotty.
Yes. Okay, so that leaves us with just to take stock of things here. Cheers, St. Elsewhere, What's Happening, and Moonlighting.
Hmm.
And I wanted to say those again so that I could say that What's Happening made it to the final cut.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably going to both eliminate that, even though I know What's Happening has a big fan base out there.
Right. And as you said, having watched all of it, that it sort of peaked early.
Yeah, right, right. It didn't have the longevity to compete against some of these other ones, and that's why
Yeah.
I would probably eliminate Moonlighting too.
Yeah. I mean,
Moonlighting had, boy, some great episodes in there, but it went downhill quickly. We covered that in the episode, so I would eliminate that.
yeah.
And that leaves us with two NBC shows, right,
Yeah.
from the 80s, Cheers and St. Elsewhere.
Two shows that survived because of Fred Silverman's golden gut.
His gold, yeah, Man with a Golden Gut, yes. Well, Mike is someone that took the time to, you did heavy preparation on St. Elsewhere, and not just for the show, but you enjoyed it as well. So maybe you should say a word about St. Elsewhere here before we
Eliminate. I loved the show once I watched it, and I do think it has influenced a lot of other stuff I liked, and has a great cast, but it's not Cheers.
Yeah, and I'm glad.
And even the Cheers episode of St. Elsewhere's was not Cheers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm glad that St. Elsewhere is now widely available on streaming.
Yeah.
And it deserves a little bit more attention. I think it's been forgotten, and we kind of speculated about why that might have been.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm hoping it becomes the next Friends on streaming. The thing all the kids are watching. The old thing all the kids are watching.
Getting together to watch St. Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Quoting lines from the show.
Right. Getting fired for. Did you hear about this?
Oh, yes.
The De Niro thing.
Bobby De Niro's had an employee that he sacked.
Yeah. So De Niro's assistant or employee, I think, embezzled money too. I think that was the bigger part.
Ah, okay.
But also watched 55 hours of Friends while at work.
Wow.
In 4 days.
Oh, okay.
So I hope St. Elsewhere becomes the next thing that people get fired.
People get fired for watching St. Elsewhere.
Yes. Medical students or something. Yeah.
That's
what we want.
That's kind of disappointingly popular for that to be the one that did it right. St. Elsewhere would be great.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cheers. Well,
I think it's Cheers, and I think we sort of felt like coming into this season that it was going to be a runaway with the baddies. And,
yeah, I think it did. After a bit of some upsets in the early categories, but it led off our season. It's one of the best shows. It's one of our favorite shows. It's the best and one of our favorites, and that doesn't always happen as much as you might think. So
yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to watch more Cheers episodes before I go back to St. Elsewhere again. It's not exactly a thing I feel like I'm going to rewatch.
Right.
Just because it's heavy but who knows? Maybe in 10 years I'll want to watch all of it again. Or particular episodes. But Cheers also, as you said, is a kind of comfort food. It's Cheers.
Yeah, I love it, and it's one of the all-time best, and it deserves this runaway success. 7 categories in a row. Again, if you don't count the instrumental category, which it wasn't eligible for, it swept the last 7 awards. And has anything done that ever?
I don't think so.
In any award show.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It would be very difficult for it today.
Even in the year of Search, where some audience members suggested it might have been rigged.
Yeah.
It didn't win this many.
It certainly didn't. No. I mean, but it shows that what quality the show is, that it had great female characters, it had great male characters, it had great writing, it had a great theme song, and all this. So it was just a all-around spectacular show, and it's proven it here at the Baddies. Finally gets the validation it was looking for after. The Emmy's success is one thing, but the Baddies...
That's surreal.
Now you've made it.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 random people
praising
you.
Yeah. It is interesting that, we didn't really take consideration of the fact that we were inside the Tommy Westphall universe when we considered St. Elsewhere there at the end.
No.
Maybe that speaks to how seamless it is entering the Tommy Westphall universe.
Yeah. Well, based on St. Elsewhere alone, it's not always a kind place.
No.
Just because an avatar for his father is walking around there doesn't mean that guy is always going to have a good life.
That's true.
Just, in fact, an avatar for himself is there and still has autism.
That's true. That might be a good transition to our final award.
Yeah, I think so. So this is our Robert Pine Genius Award.
Yes. Who, as of this podcasting,
yes,
Robert Pine is the only one who has actually physically received one of our awards.
That's right. Yeah. He, of course, we didn't have a Genius Award yet, but the award we gave him mentioned that he inspiration.
Yes.
I'm sure, he's framed it,
Yeah. Yeah.
put it on his wall of honors.
And by the way, if you're listening, we hope to do you justice, Mr.
Yes.
Pine, with this final award here.
So it's always the idea is it's someone sometimes it's someone we already knew who we appreciate and we're always excited to see.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's someone who we realize we like and has just brings something to his work or her work. Hasn't been a woman yet, but I think eventually it will be.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah. So past winners have included Leonard Lightfoot.
Yeah, from Silver Spoons.
Yeah. Marjo.
Yes, Marjo, who was in Medical Center. I
Yeah.
believe.
John Amos.
Yeah, from Good Times.
And what I'm forgetting. At least two people I'm forgetting. One from last season.
We do give it out every season now.
Yes.
So there must have been somebody in there. Yes, and this award is given to the person that leaves an indelible impression on us. That's memorable, across years and multiple sessions of podcasting and television episode watching.
I don't even know if I can look this up. We don't always have it at the... do you have it in your notebook?
I don't know if I do. So last season, of course, was season 5.
Yes.
Doesn't really help very much off it. Oh, well, we had, it was Esterhaus on Hill Street Blues.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Conrad.
Michael Conrad, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, no. We only have one post tagged for baddies on the website.
Yes.
So season 4 was Good Times, right?
Yeah, I think Good Times was in season 4.
Oh, there would only be... That's all of it.
Because Robert, yes.
There wasn't a season 1.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course.
Sorry, Michael Conrad. This is a very distinguished award.
You know what we ought to do?
Yeah.
We ought to make a trophy and put the winners of the past awards, put their names on the trophy.
I think that's a good idea.
To avoid this
Yes.
and to celebrate, the rich heritage of this award.
Right, yeah. Or maybe I should start just decorating my walls with a picture every year of the winner.
Yeah, you get like a wall of geniuses.
Yes. Bronze faces like at the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like relief little impressions of the geniuses.
Yeah. So this year's winner, like Michael Conrad, comes from an MTM show. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, like Michael Conrad is passed on, and that's Ed Flanders from St. Elsewhere, played Dr. Westphall, and his performance stood out on that show. In a sea of great actors, his performance stood out as very humane, but he could be grumpy and authoritative. He could be very funny in kind of an understated way.
Yeah.
Of course, he showed the world his butt on an episode. But and an actor who apparently at least felt underappreciated in his lifetime. They did win 2 Emmys.
Right.
But, very fine actor. And I have since, like mentioned on the St. Elsewhere episode, I'd seen him on a Mary Tyler Moore where he was very good and as a comedic character and just had good chemistry with her. And just someone we both appreciate and wish we could see more of.
I haven't seen him in much else really, but I think it's telling that you, as someone who is familiar with the show, and me, who came into it not having a big background with it, but he stood out to me without really any prompting from you. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure you mentioned him, but he just stood out as somebody right away that really captures kind of one of the things we try to do in this show is point out things that are really cool, things that are worth it, seeing again, and kind of exploring, like you said, things we want to see more of, things that just stand out to us as like, this is just a really cool television personality and someone who stands out for a variety of reasons, but someone just stands out and the underappreciated aspect of it. That's kind of a shame, but.
Yeah, and so like in one of those Television Academy interviews, Tom Fontana compared him to like Spencer Tracy as sort of representing a sort of ideal kind of American masculinity. Mm-hmm. That, rugged but sensitive and intelligent, and I don't really know Spencer Tracy's work. I know his reputation, but you hear someone get compared to that, and that seems like a compliment.
Yeah.
And I think Norman Lloyd called him the best actor of his generation, and not Norman Lloyd's generation, of course, which is...
Wait, which generation is Norman Lloyd?
I don't even know anymore.
We're going a long way back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the best ways, somebody that we want to give the Genius Award is somebody like, if we saw him, like, just listening in, maybe kind of a dated reference, but appropriate for us, a TV guide, and you saw, guest Ed Flanders, you're like, oh, I got to see that.
Yeah.
You want to go out and see the other stuff that he was in, and it would be a must-see if that person was in there. And I think that works with the other winners as well as Ed Flanders, a worthy addition to this roster of geniuses. So yeah, congratulations posthumously to Mr. Ed Flanders.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of the baddies.
Wow.
Congratulations, big winners, Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
And cheers.
Yeah.
And What's Happening got a lot of attention. Even most of it went to the Doobie Brothers.
It did. Yeah, we talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
A show that doesn't come up in a lot of discussions of TV history, but had its role and as its following, and I'm glad to see it.
And
get a little discussion.
Of course, Moonlighting got a lot of a discussion here today too.
But as we go back here, Gary Deeb. Pulling off an upset in the Outstanding Performances Oneself category. Talk about somebody getting some extra exposure.
Oh, and Solomon Grundy too.
Yeah, that's right. And just a lot going on. As always, a rich tapestry of television performances, episodes, and just everything that we celebrate. It's good to look back and not necessarily pat ourselves on the back, but pat television on the back.
Or just watch out for the sharp little doodads and parts of it might be hot.
Yeah, it's a little bit better, but the old tube TV we had. Did not want to stick your hand back there.
No. All right, that wraps it up, and we'll be back nearish future with season 7.
Yeah.
And have some bonus episodes in between. And meantime, of course, visit the Facebook group, visit our website where Rick continues to put up the top 10 lists every week, and I'm sure we'll have some other content up there.
Yeah, come to the webpage. You can always comment. The quickest way to get a hold of us is on that Facebook group, and if you'd like to discuss the BATTY Awards, let's talk about it. And some of these awards may be controversial, but we're certainly willing to engage in some conversation. Let us know what you think. This episode brought to you by Tommy Westphall's Imagination. This episode also brought to you by Fred Silverman's Golden Gut. This episode also brought to you by Season 7. Coming soon. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.